There was a deeper meaning to his words. As long as Han Fei was still alive, it was fine. As for how crippled he was, who cared? Han Fei had only used Chu Hao to attract the great monarchs from the central Sea Divine Realm to take action. He really didn't expect that the hidden Monarch City would become a target of vigilance of these great monarchs. Although his plan did include the hidden Monarch City, that was after he reached the infinite mining area. It had nothing to do with the present. Right. Han Fei seemed to understand something. Perhaps in their opinion, the demon god had actually perished, and the God-fiend sea was filled with some old demons. After so many years, even survival was a problem for them. Even if they really came out, what could they do? Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. This was originally an overt scheme. He was even prepared that the other party had guessed that there would be a problem in the God-fiend sea. But the other party's great monarchs didn't seem to care. In order to complement the seemingly tense situation, Han Fei waved his hand and put away the hot pot and barbecue. The creation Jade Spirit Tower appeared in his hand again and appeared above Bai Ye's head. Han Fei said, "Whether I can kill my way out today or not, this wolf is dead meat." "Thief, you're asking to be killed." Among these great monarchs, the primordial silver wolf of the ancient demon race finally took the lead to attack. As long as one of them attacked, all the great monarchs naturally attacked together. Chu Hao grabbed Han Fei and rushed out. The phantom of the primordial silver wolf was shattered by a punch. A giant centipede swayed in the chaotic laws. Then, billions of sword shadows smashed down like rain. Chu Hao pushed with a single hand, and the power of the spiral stirred the laws, forming a storm of law in his palm, sweeping up the billions of sword shadows and throwing them at the other great monarchs. A demon plant instantly transformed into a vast forest. Chu Hao sneered. "Have you forgotten that I've walked this path?" As Chu Hao flicked a vine with his finger, the tens of millions of kilometers of void jungle instantly collapsed like dominoes. However, Han Fei also saw a wisp of redness appear at the corner of Chu Hao's mouth, because a ray of light swept past him from behind. However, he rolled back his hand, retracted the ray of light, and smashed it at another unknown great monarch. The battle here was dazzling. Even if Han Fei didn't do anything at the moment, he could only see less than 1/5 of the battle clearly. He suddenly discovered that it seemed simpler for a great monarch to attack. But actually, every slight movement of theirs might contain extremely terrifying power. Just by pointing at the void, they could break through the seals of millions of kilometers. Do all great monarchs attack like this? No, in a battle of any realm, there was always a tit-for-tat situation. It couldn't be explained by just this casual way of fighting. Then there was only one reason, that was, the strength of the two sides was imbalanced. These enemies of the Central Sea Divine Realm relied on their large number of people, so every attack gathered a terrifying power at one point, forcing Chu Hao to take their power head-on. In this way, they had the numerical advantage. Otherwise, if they were to fight Chu Hao in close combat, it would definitely affect other people's attacks or even affect themselves, making it easy for Chu Hao to kill them. Being surrounded by the great monarchs for a full hour, Chu Hao could only barely bring Han Fei across hundreds of millions of kilometers of sky. When he wanted to step directly into the endless void several times, Han Fei thought that Chu Hao could really escape with him, but then Chu Hao was forcefully pulled back from the endless void. It's just like real In the eyes of these great monarchs, Chu Hao had almost run away several times, so they were always on guard. Only Han Fei knew that he had long discussed with Chu Hao to attract as many great monarchs as possible to hunt him down. As long as the enemy believed that Chu Hao could escape, more great monarchs would join the battle. The great monarchs of the Central Sea Divine Realm were also speaking to each other via voice transmission. Everyone, don't just sit by. You should have seen Chu Hao's strength. This time, not only will we snatch the demon purification pot, but Chu Hao also has to die. Otherwise, Chu Hao will definitely retaliate. Everyone, you should know how strong Chu Hao was in the past. This time, we can't let him leave again. What are you waiting for? Isn't it obvious? Han Fei's only reliance is Chu Hao. He wanted to lure and kill us, but he underestimated our determination. As long as the hidden monarch city doesn't interfere, there will be people from the Central Sea Divine Realm who will deal with the ferocious beasts. What else is there to fear? Someone was puzzled. I have a feeling that this matter is not simple. The demon purification pot has appeared. Han Fei can't recognize the seriousness of the problem. Can't Chu Hao also? Someone said, whether it's a trap or not, everyone, what trap can ambush dozens of great monarchs like us? The God-fiend Sea? This place hasn't opened for 1,800,000 years. And according to countless historical records, that god died a long time ago, and he didn't even die in the God-fiend Sea. Someone echoed, everyone, you should have felt the chains of order in the God-fiend Sea. There are no conditions for recuperation there at all. Even obtaining spiritual energy is extremely extravagant. If there is a problem with the God-fiend Sea, it should have been launched long ago. Why would the human race still sacrifice 70 billion people? That's true. On Han Fei's side, Chu Hao's expression was ugly. There are still more than 30 drops of spring of life left. I haven't recovered to my peak state, and escaping from nearly 30 great monarchs is already my limit. Those who haven't come out now are probably all scheming people. Do you want to reel in the net now? Han Fei thought that he had attracted a lot of people this time. It seemed that it was time to reel in the net. Suddenly, Chu Hao stopped and a cage full of spider webs appeared in front of him. At this moment, a woman was hanging on the spider silk and saying, Chu Hao, you can't escape. We're all great monarchs. The path ahead has been sealed and your retreat has been cut off. Today, you no longer have the demon purification pot to use. How can you think of leaving with Han Fei? A powerful voice sounded, Han Fei, hand over the demon purification pot. Half of the great monarchs here will not attack again. You may still have a chance to leave. Han Fei said, Senior Chu Hao, please cover me. I'm going to use a technique. Upon hearing this, the emperors frowned. What was the use of him using a technique at this moment? However, an ancient altar appeared. The moment they saw the altar, they knew that Han Fei was going to summon certain existences. So that's why you're so confident. The altar in the West Wilderness? Who is this guy going to summon? Someone immediately shouted, attack. Chu Hao cursed in his heart. This brat is still not satisfied. He's risking his life. Unfortunately, at this point, it was impossible to stop. Chu Hao roared and spewed out a mouthful of essence blood, which transformed into a huge tree behind him. On the tree, there was a human-shaped phantom sitting cross-legged. Blood versus the spirit, God's projection. In an instant, the 7 great monarchs of the sky spider-worm valley behind Chu-Hao all retreated. Someone shouted, "It's the bloodline atavism technique of the descendants of gods." This guy summoned the projection of a god. Chu-Hao said, "Han Fei, since you want to play, then go all out and don't hold back." Buzz. The fire curtain reached the sky, and above the altar, a fire cloud cave appeared. A figure walked out of the cave. It was the burly and ferocious god of war holding a giant axe. Ha ha ha. Han Fei, has something good happened again? However, the next moment, the god of war cursed, "Where did so many great monarchs come from? What are you doing?" Han Fei shouted, "Senior war god, since you're already here, it's up to you whether or not I can survive today." Around them, the great monarchs from the Central Sea divine realm were filled with suspicion and surprise. Some became wary, and some secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They were wary because the god of war was very incredibly powerful. This old guy had walked the path of extreme Tao body refinement and had reached the peak of the great monarch realm. His strength was almost godly. In terms of true combat power, he was probably even stronger than Chu-Hao. As for why they were relieved, it was because no matter how strong the god of war was, there were only 2 people on Han Fei's side. Furthermore, this kind of summoning technique couldn't last long. This meant that the time for the god of war to appear was limited. As long as they stalled for time, they would win this round. The god of war of the West Wilderness? How could you have returned? Aren't you trapped in the sea of stars? God of war, are you really abandoning the people in the West Wilderness for helping this guy? Everyone, this is a clone. If the god of war could return, he would have returned long ago. He wouldn't have waited until today. Besides, his aura isn't that strong. Shut up. How dare you threaten my people? I think you're tired of living. Roar. The god of war was as violent as ever. He jumped up, brandished his battle axe, and the light of the axe swept across thousands of kilometers, shattering the spider webs. The person who threatened the god of war just now immediately activated a secret technique at the same time, and 800 blade edges darted out to meet the god of war's attack. Ka ka ka. However, the power of the god of war was incomparable to that of a great monarch. Wherever the battle axe passed, all the laws were shattered. In an instant, the 5 great monarchs attacked one after another, sending 6 divine techniques to meet the axe. Rumble. A terrifying explosion erupted here. With the combined strength of the 6 of them, only 3 of them vomited blood and their souls trembled. Instantly, someone shouted, "Everyone, he is indeed a clone. If his original body is here, we won't be able to withstand one attack from him." Pfft. The person who spoke was sent flying. He felt that the essence blood in his body stirred abnormally. In the next moment, the phantom of a god summoned by Chu-Hao extended his palm and turned into a huge demonic hand, grabbing the hundreds of thousands of kilometers in this place. The great monarch from before was caught off guard and was crushed. Chu-Hao shouted in a low voice, "Die." No matter how strong a great monarch was, he couldn't resist the power of a god. Just now, the strike of the god of war forced him to block it. Now that he was enveloped by the demonic hand, he had no way to dodge. Rumble. The phantom of a god controlled the heavens and the earth. This person was wrapped in divinity, and his great Tao and law were instantly destroyed by divinity. This was the power of the descendant of a god. The primordial divine race were all descendants of gods. Although they had been destroyed, Chu Hao, the descendant of a god, still had some godlike methods. This was why he claimed to be able to kill the great monarchs. Rumble. 3 days later, the great Tao crack appeared again, and the entire sea realm was looking at the East Sea divine realm. In recent years, the great monarchs of the East Sea had died time and time again, so it was naturally the center of attention. Seeing this, the god of war laughed. A descendant of a god. Interesting. Although it's just the two of us, we can still fight. All laws converge into 1. The immense evil of power, the axe that dominates the universe. I will gather the power of heaven and earth in my hands to slay gods. Kill. Han Fei was dumbfounded. He felt that the law of power here almost transformed into patterns that gathered towards the god of war. On the battle axe, an earthy yellow light bloomed. The god of war, holding the battle axe, seemed to be holding up a vast world horizontally in the sky. At this moment, the true appearance of the god of war couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Han Fei saw that an old man covered in hooks and thorns exploded and turned into a giant sandworm, but he couldn't break free and was crushed into sand. And the gravel continued to be crushed into nothingness. Rumble. The news of the death of another great monarch spread throughout the sea realm. In the Central Sea Divine Realm, someone frowned. The void marks have been used up. How can Han Fei kill 2 great monarchs in a row? The totem of the wild ancient race in the West Wilderness was shining. Many cultivators surrounded the totem. Someone muttered, the totem has never trembled so violently. It seems that the god of war has returned. Rumble. Everyone looked at the sky and then looked shocked. Has the god of war really returned? But why did he go to the East Sea Divine Realm? I heard from the god of war that he found a successor in the East Sea Divine Realm. Could it be that for that successor, he used some secret method to descend into the sea realm? Well, Lord War God is too much. He doesn't come out no matter how many times we invite him. Is it really necessary for him to come back in person just for a disciple? An elder said, he may not come back in person, but he must have sent back a clone. He killed great monarchs the moment he returned. Isn't this causing trouble for us? Someone shook his head. The god of war is really. Alas, he said that he would send a group of giants over. We've waited for 500 years, but those people haven't arrived. He's unreliable. Someone laughed. Other than fighting, when has the god of war ever been reliable? South Sea Divine Realm. Feng Yu, who was cultivating outside the chaotic fire domain, had just returned from a secret place of inheritance when Antua immediately appeared beside her. Feng Yu, how is your cultivation going? Feng Yu smiled and held Antua's arm. Not bad. It's not difficult to cultivate at the carefree level, but the comprehension of the immortal level is a problem. At the moment, I've got some insights. I have to make a trip to the chaotic sea. I heard from my senior sister that the chaotic sea is suitable for breaking through to the Tao-proving level and immortal level. Rumble. The road rumbled, and Feng Yu was puzzled. Has anything happened in the South Sea Divine Realm recently? The South Sea Divine Realm is fine recently, but the East Sea Divine Realm is not. Feng Yu asked, the East Sea Divine Realm? Antwa smiled and said, a third great monarch has died in the past few days. Our patriarch said that the human race is at war with some forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Human? Han Fei? Antwa nodded slightly. By the way, Feng Yu, you are Han Fei's senior sister. If your strength is surpassed by Han Fei, will it affect your prestige? Huh? I've been surpassed? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Feng Yu immediately let go of Antwa's arm and said, I've never been surpassed in my life. I introduced little junior brother to the Void Temple. How can my cultivation speed be slower than his? With that, Feng Yu walked back. Alas! Girl, where are you going? Feng Yu said, I'm going to the chaotic sea, to find my senior sister. It's faster to go through the dragon race. Antwa was lost for words. Hey, wait a minute. What's the rush? The god ferrying ancient land of the South Sea is going to open in a few years, and all the elites of the Sea Realm will gather in the South Sea to compete for treasures. Just wait a bit longer. Also, the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest said that she was going to find a spouse by fighting. You should represent the younger generation in this matter, so you have to go. Feng Yu said, I can understand the matter of the god ferrying ancient land. But what does this spouse-finding thing have to do with me? I'm a woman. Could she even choose me? Besides, I don't like that woman. She's too scheming. Who asked you to participate in the spouse-finding event? You're just attending on behalf of your family. Ah. Can I not go? Let Feng Xingliu go instead. He likes excitement, and when he sees that woman, he definitely won't be able to walk straight. No, Feng Xingliu is so loud and noisy. I'm afraid he'll be killed before he even reaches the miracle forest. Outside the God-fiend sea, the god of war and Chu Hao were incomparably powerful. The god of war was charging. His time was limited, so he had to make the best use of it. Everyone knew how powerful the god of war was, so there were 17 great monarchs fighting him. The remaining people tried to destroy the divine projection many times, but they were all beaten back and couldn't do anything to Chu Hao for a while. If they attacked by force, as Chu Hao said, who would want to be the one to die? If it was just Chu Hao, it would be fine. It wouldn't be a problem to slowly wear him down. But with the addition of the god of war, it was a big problem. The ancient demon race's primordial silver wolf said, which Lin, don't hold back at this juncture. Shouldn't you take out your soul locking clock? A female, great monarch, sneered. Easy for you to say. Why didn't you take action first with your god transformation token? After that, the two of them looked at the coquettish woman, and the woman said, I can attack first, but I'm afraid the effect of the god-breaking silk is far inferior to your nature spiritual treasures. Primordial silver wolf, it's better than nothing. Let's work together and take down the god of war first. The three of them nodded. God of War swung his battle axe crazily. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 rounds had passed. The great monarch besieging him was in great agony. If this hadn't been a clone, they would have been chopped into pieces long ago. Even so, 5 of them had been seriously injured. Suddenly, a void-swimming snake continued to wrap around the god of war. A mid-quality nature spiritual treasure? The war god's giant axe slashed down, but the winding snake was invisible as it swept past the battle axe and tied up the war god. Soul locking clock. Above the head of the god of war, a bronze bell appeared. This bell circled in the void, and a pillar of light shot down. The god of war was locked in the pillar of light and failed to break it after trying 3 times. God transformation token. A moon divine plate appeared behind the primordial silver wolf, and a flame token floated in front of it. Then, a wolf claw emerged from the divine plate behind it. It was so powerful that it seemed to have divinity. The god of war's face changed slightly. A divine strike? Roar. The god of war roared, "You think a mere attack from a god can shake me? Do you really think I'm just a great monarch? Break!" Bang! 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 The body of the god of war turned red, and the god-breaking silk was shattered by a huge force. Axe and chaos cut the grand void. At that moment, the war god's clone completely blended into the battle axe. Under Han Fei's shocked gaze, the battle axe expanded continuously and eventually burst open the soul-locking bell with a crack. The wolf claw was about to reach out, but the axe glowed, and infinite chaotic power surged out of the endless void to support it, tearing apart the divine wolf claw. Puff! 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 The primordial silver wolf, the female spider, and the one from the divine demon forest all vomited blood. In the next moment, the god of war appeared and shouted, "If it's a supreme nature treasure, of course I can't beat it. But a mid-quality nature spiritual treasure is only enough for me to split it with 3 strikes." While Han Fei was stunned, he suddenly heard the god of war's voice. "Kid, is that enough? How long do you want me to fight? If you want me to keep fighting like this, the great monarch's origin star you gave me isn't enough. You need to give me at least 3. Han Fei said, "Just try your best to kill the female spider. Alright, after I'm done, my clone will disperse." What a loss for me this time. Han Fei completely ignored the god of war at all. He cried that he was poor every day, but in fact, he had had enough. The god of war was even more ferocious this time. The void behind him shattered, and he directly extracted the chaotic chi of chaos, condensed a huge axe, and slashed at the spider. The female spider's expression suddenly changed. "Are you kidding me? Why did you attack me?" The female spider was surrounded by a powerful law of strength and couldn't escape. As for the other 2, the primordial silver wolf and the demoness from the divine demon forest simply abandoned her and ran first. This guy was a tough opponent who could even fight a god. With 1 strike of this guy, to put it bluntly, they were sure to be finished. "No. My ancestor, save me." While the female spider cried in horror, 1, 2, 3. In the end, tens of thousands of pillars of light blasted out of the endless void, and a huge spider with thousands of eyes on its body spewed out scorching beams of light at the axe at the same time. Rumble. The chaotic giant axe finally exploded under multiple attacks. Han Fei suddenly stood up and pretended to be shocked. The god of war, on the other hand, looked awful. "Ancient demon, thousand-eyed sky spider?" In Han Fei's heart, the voice of the god of war sounded. "Kid, I can't kill it. Without my original body, my clone is running out of strength and can't fight anymore." Han Fei said, "Senior god of war, you can go back." God of war, go back? How are you going to deal with so many great monarchs? The thousand-eyed sky spider can't be killed by ordinary great monarchs. She alone can destroy the god projection. Han Fei said, "Don't worry. I have my ways. I'll give you the origin stars of 3 great monarchs later." Good. Without further ado, the god of war stepped back to the edge of the altar as the curtain of heavenly flames rose again. He burst into laughter and said, "You pesky bugs from the Sky Spiderworm Valley, you ruined my plan. Don't let me encounter anyone from the Sky Spiderworm Valley in the Sea of Stars." After saying this, the god of war slipped away. His identity was very valuable. Since Han Fei had a way to deal with these people, he didn't need to waste the last bit of his strength. The thousand-eyed sky spider's face was all dark. He didn't want to piss off a lawless guy like the god of war. This time, his clone could completely block his thousand-eyed divine light. If his real body showed up, he would probably be killed. However, since things had come to this point, he certainly wouldn't give up. Just because of the god of war's harsh words. The thousand-eyed sky spider's eyes all looked at Han Fei. "The Void Temple asked you to gain experience, not to court death. Now I'll give you a chance. Hand over the demon purification pot." Thousand Eye, give to whom? This is a problem. As he spoke, a branch extended out of the endless void. On the branch, a man in green held a folding fan and smiled. "Great Elder?" The demonic woman from the divine demon forest was overjoyed to see him. The blue-robed man looked at Han Fei. "You're indeed very confident. With Chu Hao and the god of war guarding you, you might be able to escape. Unfortunately, you underestimate the value of the demon purification pot." Roar. The void vibrated and the roars of beasts were low. The already broken space was torn apart by 3 sharp claws, and a huge wolf head poked out. The primordial silver wolf also looked delighted. "Patriarch, why are you here?" The primordial silver wolf patriarch's voice was deep. "The hidden monarch city has no intention of helping this brat at all." Was it this brat who killed a heavenly talent of our primordial silver wolf race? Yes, it's me. Damn it. Do you think a stray dog like Chu Hao can save you? Or can the Void Temple still protect you? The primordial silver wolf stepped out of the void with a disdainful gaze and a heavy suppressing pressure. Han Fei said calmly, "I thought no big fish would come, but it seems that I was wrong." The patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race grinned ferociously. "You're deliberately mystifying. Since ancient times, many disciples of the Void Temple have died. You're no exception. Today, even the gods can't save you." "I said it." Sigh. Chu Hao took the initiative to put away the projection of the god and sighed. "A bunch of idiots. Hee hee." Han Fei laughed awkwardly and then cupped his hands at the god fiend C. "Seniors, do you want to eat wolf meat?" The god fiend C? Because of Han Fei's behavior, the great monarchs all looked at the god fiend C. Although this was the god fiend C, they didn't believe that the creatures suppressed in the god fiend C would come out. How long had this place existed? The resources inside had been exhausted. After millions of years, how could there be any creatures living inside? Stop pretending. The patriarch of the primordial silver wolves waved his claws and slapped towards Han Fei and Chu Hao. But this time, Chu Hao didn't take action at all. With swishing sounds, dark chains suddenly extended from the bottom of the sea. The expressions of the great monarchs changed. Was there really a problem with the god fiend sea? Upon seeing this, the patriarch of the silver wolf race immediately tore at The dark chains, but only broke dozens of them before he was tied up by the continuous dark chains. Click, click, click. The chains shrank like sealing chains, crushing the wolf claw. Tisk, tsk. A group of great monarchs attacked a junior at the carefree level. Is that all you've got? An abrupt voice rang in everyone's ears. Countless black chains extended from the dark barrier of the god-fiend sea, dancing like dragons and snakes. A middle-aged man in white stood on the chains, greedily sucking the air of the outside world. How wonderful! Han Fei cupped his hands. Nice to meet you, Senior Li. The person who came was Li Tiangon, a humanoid powerhouse. He gave Han Fei a piece of universe-vast soil and was considered the only big shot who looked like a normal person in the god-fiend sea. How is that possible? How can the people in the god-fiend sea come out? Why are there still living people in the god-fiend sea? All the great monarchs were shocked that those people had really walked out of the god-fiend sea. Almost everyone realized something. Since Han Fei had long been related to the god-fiend sea, why did he not hesitate to expose Chu Hao and summon the god of war before summoning the person from the god-fiend sea? Obviously, whether it was Chu Hao or the god of war, they were both acting. They appeared just to attract more great monarchs to come over. Therefore, this was still a trap. However, the final hunter was not the hidden monarch city, but the god-fiend sea. At this time, they realized that if the people in the god-fiend sea were still alive, how many people were there? If these people still had their strength. Immediately, some great monarchs began to retreat secretly. They didn't have a high chance of snatching the demon purification pot to begin with. In addition to snatching the demon purification pot, they also wanted to snatch people and harvest the luck of the human race. But now, they could see the situation clearly. The god-fiend sea had suppressed too many demonic Tao cultivators from the past. If this group of people didn't die, they could only run today. Bang! In a certain space, the darkness of the god-fiend sea spread out, and a huge darkness enveloped a great monarch who had secretly retreated. This great monarch's reaction was fast enough. He immediately unleashed his might, illuminating the darkness. But in the darkness, a whip mark rolled him up. Before he could escape, the darkness closed. Ka. The darkness in the god-fiend sea receded, and a huge frog appeared in everyone's vision. There seemed to be something jumping around in the stomach of the giant frog, as if it was trying to break out. However, the belly of the giant frog began to expand like an inflated ball. When it reached a certain level, it shrank with a boom and there was no longer any movement in its stomach. Rumble. The great Tao crack appeared again, and a boom resounded throughout the 5 divine realms of the sea realm. Another great monarch died so easily. Ha ha ha. After starving for 1.8 million years, I finally have a full meal. Ha ha ha. Sea realm, I'm back again. The great monarchs of the central sea divine realm all changed their expression. How was it possible? What creature could swallow a great monarch so easily? The thousand-eyed sky spider's expression changed slightly. A demonic magnate, the sky ghost toad? Ha ha ha. There is still someone who knows me, croak. Worms, delicious. Buzz. The god-fiend sea began to tremble, and colorful colors appeared on the continuous seals. The cultivator from the divine demon forest frowned and pointed his finger. The endless branches deep in the void, like the hands of a devil, shrank, trying to grab the sky ghost toad. But then, he heard a chuckle, and some red flowers grew on those branches for some reason. The great monarch's face changed greatly, and he immediately cut off all the branches. But it had no effect. In the void, red flowers opened the way, and red flowers suddenly grew on the body of a strong master from the divine demon forest. A parasitic Tao great monarch? Why? The great monarch stirred his law, trying to extinguish the red light on his body. However, the surging law actually bloomed flowers of law, which were still red. The white-robed great monarch of the divine demon forest immediately attacked. Divine purification branch. A thin branch bloomed with light, like a beam of light in the darkness, illuminating the world and piercing the power of law outside the strong master of the divine demon forest. However, the glowing branch was weakened at a visible speed and gradually turned scarlet from the white light. No. What is this? The great monarch, who was possessed by the red flower, didn't hesitate to use a great nature spiritual treasure to suppress the various techniques, but when a red flower floated past, the nature spiritual treasure exploded and perished with the red flower. Giggle, giggle. A chuckle came. Is this the power of the current great monarch? So weak? Red flowers paved the way for a stunningly beautiful woman, who walked barefoot on the petals with her long, fair, and slender thighs. She wore a bright red short skirt, as dazzling as a flower, and held her fair and tender arms in the air, smiling while plucking flowers. All the great monarchs felt a chill down their spines, because when the woman picked up the flower, the great monarch of the divine demon forest was withering at a visible speed. The red flower in the woman's hand, on the other hand, emitted a dazzling red light, illuminating the woman's gorgeous face. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. He remembered the last time he saw this woman. Her upper body was beautiful, but her lower body was twisted like a tentacle monster. It seemed that she had recovered. Finally, the white-robed great monarch of the divine demon forest said with an awful expression, the former lord of the North Sea, Jiang Honghua. What? How is that possible? Is she the North Sea demon flower? According to the records, wasn't her body cut into pieces and her dead body suppressed in the God-fiend sea? Han Fei's heart did a flip. The former king of the North Sea? Is her identity so awesome? Now, senior brother Six God was the overlord of the North Sea, and this was the former king of the North Sea. After she came out, would she go to make trouble for senior brother Six God? Jiang Honghua smiled sweetly. Oh. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. Divine Demon Forest, is your god still alive? He damaged my body back then. Today, I'll collect some interest first. Rumble. The great Tao crack appeared again, and another great monarch died. The cultivators of the 5 divine realms all looked solemn. They were all shocked. In just a few days, the great monarchs had died frequently. Just today, 3 great monarchs had died one after another. What happened in the East Sea Divine Realm? The white-robed great monarch from the divine demon forest looked solemn. He said, "Thousand Eyes, wolf ancestor, let's kill our way out together." This time, the white-robed monarch didn't talk about snatching the demon purification pot anymore. There would be plenty of opportunities to seize the demon purification pot in the future, but with one monster after another coming out of the God-fiend sea, he might not be able to leave if he didn't leave now. The thousand-eyed sky spider said, "That's exactly my plan." Although the primordial silver wolf was reluctant, he still roared, "Let's go." Clatter. Just when they were about to give up the battle, a huge wave surged into the sky, and a crab claw extended out of the wave. "If you leave, what will we eat?" The huge pincers clamped at an old man with a single horn. Seeing this, the old man's expression changed drastically, and he tried to retreat. But in the next moment, a flash of knife light suddenly attacked from behind. Before he could think much, his single horn burst out with a strange blue light, transforming into an ancient giant ox, attempting to block the blade. However, the moment the saber beam touched the horn, it turned into a spiral and easily pierced through the single-horned mad bull. At the same time, the crab pincers clamped down, and a black dragon phantom rolled on this old man. A great monarch was shocked. A law-type divine technique. Yes, as soon as the crab pincers clamped the void, the great monarch was locked down, and even his power of the law was sealed. Patriarch Primordial Silver Wolf Patriarch made a move. After all, he was a great monarch of the ancient demon race and couldn't be killed so easily. However, Li Tiangan, who had been motionless, flicked his finger and a marble was shot out. Han Fei had seen this kind of marbles too many times. They were not marbles, but stars. Buzz. The stars shattered, and the infinite power turned into a sword. Stars into swords? Li Tiangan, that abandoned disciple of the East Sword Pavilion? Someone recognized Li Tiangan. As that guy spoke, Li Tiangan transformed the stars into swords and collided with the patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race. The patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race's huge palm was pierced, and one of his claws turned into powder. What's Li Tiangan's background? The patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race couldn't believe that he was pierced by a sword and even lost a wolf claw. This meant that the other party's strength was no longer that of an ordinary peak-level great monarch, but a kind of person who could transcend the divine tribulation at any time. The person who spoke first was from a sword cultivator faction in the central Sea Divine Realm. He said, "It's said that in the past, he was the eldest disciple of the god of the East Sword Pavilion and the first sword cultivator in history. In order to pursue the ultimate realm of the sword Tao, he reduced himself into a devil. After that, his master, the sky-splitting sword god, couldn't kill him with 3 slashes, so he just expelled Li Tiangan from the East Sword Pavilion and suppressed him in the God-Fiend Sea. Hiss. F***ck. Even Chu Hao, who was beside Han Fei, couldn't help but be shocked. I've heard of him. His sword path is unparalleled. It's said that he comprehended the divine path as soon as he proved Tao. He was the person closest to a god in the East Sword Pavilion in the past. Oh my god, such a big shot. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. When he was in the God-Fiend Sea, Li Tiangan had only casually instructed him on the sword Tao, before he comprehended the primordial Tao sword and the formless infinity sword one after another. At that time, he knew that Li Tiangan was definitely a great swordsman. The sword he saw just now confirmed his thoughts. But after hearing Li Tiangan's real identity, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. To be able to resist the 3 slashes of a god without dying, how deep had his understanding of the sword Tao reached? With Li Tiangan taking action, the single-horned mad bull was killed with double knives with its entire head twisted off. A big crocodile laughed. Old Xia, the body is yours, and the head is mine. The big crocodile was naturally the Eastern divine crocodile. When Han Fei left the chaotic wasteland, a scale of the eastern divine crocodile blocked the attacks of great monarchs for more than 30 seconds, and that was just one scale. Han Fei didn't know how strong he was. However, at this moment, he saw that nearly half of the soul of the single horned mad bull had been swallowed by the eastern divine crocodile. Stupid crocodile, all you know is to grab heads with me. At this moment, the single-horned mad bull's body was inexplicably cut into dozens of pieces. Because it was enveloped by the dragon's shadow, its soul couldn't escape. It could only watch as a big crab dragged its body into its mouth. Patriarch Silver Wolf, help me. The patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race didn't pay attention to him at all. At this moment, he even felt a chill down his spine. 5. F** King super strong masters had already appeared. Each of the 5 was no weaker than the 3 of them, or even stronger. Besides, at this moment, the God-fiend sea had already begun to open. A big turtle swam out, and a turtle shell rose to the sky. The great Tao here seemed to be about to be frozen. It was none other than the old turtle, Grand Emperor Mystic Marshal. The patriarch of the silver wolf race roared, "Go!" In an instant, on the side of the central sea divine realm, as the patriarch of the silver wolf roared, everyone moved. In fact, they had wanted to run for a long time, but the one who ran first died too quickly, so they didn't dare to run. Now that the 3 ancestor-level great monarchs took the lead to run, they naturally wouldn't fall behind. The old turtle said in a low voice, "Why didn't you run earlier?" The turtle shell seals the world, the law seals the universe, seal. With this sealing from the old turtle, order chains appeared in billions of kilometers of void. Even the dark chains of the God-fiend sea have joined the blockade. After the old turtle set up this seal, a large number of strong masters rushed out of the God-fiend sea into the sea realm. Ha ha ha. We're finally out. Great. I can finally see the light of day again. I'm starving. I smell pure-blooded demons. Ha ha. Little friend Han Fei, you're too slow. I've been waiting too long. Little friend Han Fei, you're too much. You're cooking wolf meat outside to tempt us. Little friend Han Fei, you can't run away later. I'm going to catch some pure-blooded demons. Please cook them for us. Han Fei replied with a smile, "No problem. By the way, seniors, can you leave me 3 great monarchs' corpses? I promised someone to sacrifice a few to him." "No problem, but you'll have to be a cook for a few days." Han Fei smiled and said, "Sure. I still have many dishes for you to appraise. There's also enough wine. It's all 10,000-year-old fine wine." "Oh. I'm so hungry." Ha ha ha, let's kill. At that moment, the so-called 3 ancestors were horrified. This was because the number and strength of the enemy had far exceeded their imagination. They wanted to run, but there was nothing they could do. Li Tiangan, Jiang Honghua, Sky Ghost Toad, Eastern Divine Crocodile, Xia Wuquan, Old Yuan, and other top cultivators didn't give them a chance to escape at all. In particular, the mid and low-quality nature spiritual treasures the 3 of them used were shattered by Li Tiangan and Jiang Honghua. When they used their only high-quality nature spiritual treasures, they were suppressed by the old turtle. Since then, they didn't even have a chance to escape. They were killed on the spot by the sword intent and killer move, comparable to that of gods. Beside Han Fei, Chu Hao's eyelids and the corners of his mouth twitched. This was ridiculous. These ferocious devils were actually so close to Han Fei. He had thought that Han Fei only had some means to release a small number of demons or make a deal with them. But now, he was going to unseal the entire God-Fiend Sea. The seal of the God-Fiend Sea was gradually dimming and trembling. The dark chains had already begun to dance wildly, and some parts had already begun to fade. He didn't even dare to imagine what kind of bloodbath the sea realm would face if all the demons here came out. This was because he had seen more than 100 great monarchs. Furthermore, there were still great monarchs who hadn't come out. Just as Chu Hao was feeling complicated, a white-robed man appeared beside him. And Han Fei. Han Fei hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, demon god." The demon god nodded slightly. "The demon purification pot has been revealed. Aren't you afraid that I'll be tempted too?" Han Fei smiled and said, "I know you won't. First of all, the demon purification pot is not in its complete state. It's still incomplete and its power is not enough for a god to use. Secondly, for a god, the demon purification pot's main ability should be to point the way, right? For example, how to go down with the God-Fiend formless technique." With that, Han Fei took out a jade slip and handed it to the demon god. "This technique is called the God-Fiend body. It's the limit of the demon purification pot's deduction and an upgraded version of the God-Fiend formless technique." "Oh?" The demon god's heart did a flip. "I've already had some insights about this technique, but I haven't completely deduced it." "Has the demon purification pot already deduced the next level of the technique?" Han Fei said, "Senior, the demon purification pot can't directly deduce a technique that doesn't exist. Since it can deduce the God-Fiend body, it means that this technique once existed. In the long river of history, we are not the first to walk the Tao of extreme balance." Buzz. The suppressing pressure of the demon god was shocking, and the surrounding waves retreated. After a few seconds, the demon god said, "Can the technique still be deduced?" Han Fei shook his head. "No, the predecessors probably couldn't go any further. After they reached this point. After the God-Fiend body is refined, the Tao of extreme balance is cut off." The demon god took a deep look at Han Fei. "Are you giving this technique to me just like that?" Han Fei smiled. "I do have a presumptuous request." The demon god took the jade slip. "Speak." Now that he already had the God-Fiend body, the demon god naturally wouldn't spend time deducing it. Besides, since there was no path after the God-Fiend body, the demon purification pot was indeed of little use to him. Han Fei said, "I hope that senior demon god can shelter the human race for 3,000 years. You're really bold." The demon god looked at Han Fei with a smile, as if he wanted to see why Han Fei was so bold. Han Fei said, "In fact, you don't need to stay in the infinite mining area to protect the human race. A god only needs to say something if he wants to protect a race. Do these people from the Central Sea Divine Realm dare challenge your prestige? But why would I do that? Just because of the God-Fiend body?" Han Fei said, "Senior, in this world, only you and I can embark on the true Tao of extreme balance. After all, only we can explore whether there is still a way above the God-Fiend body. I promise that if I can comprehend something above the God-Fiend body in the future, I will tell you everything." "Just with the demon purification pot?" Han Fei shook his head. "The demon purification pot can only deduce existing techniques. I know this very well. This senior Chuhao, beside me once, controlled the demon purification pot for 100,000 years. If the demon purification pot can endlessly deduce something higher, he would have become a god long ago. Therefore, the key is not the demon purification pot. Rumble. At this moment, the great Tao crack appeared again, and another great monarch from the Central Sea divine realm died, but Han Fei didn't care. Han Fei continued, the myriad race's enemy is the ominous. When the ominous arrival comes, even the gods can't do anything about it. The Tao of extreme balance is a new path. This path might have the ability to resist the ominous. The two of us joining forces is better than me resisting the ominous alone. Isn't it? As long as I don't die, I will grow strong one day. With the demon purification pot, I will inevitably embark on the path of fighting the ominous. This might be my mission, as well as the mission of the myriad races. So it's naturally your mission, Senior. You can't expect these useless people to fight against the ominous, right? The demon god nodded slightly. That makes sense. However, we are regarded as demons by all races. What do you think? Han Fei grinned, looked at the great monarchs of the Central Sea divine realm, and said indifferently, if the myriad races you refer to are these selfish people, so what if I fall into the demonic path? So what if our human race falls into the demonic path? Ha ha ha. The demon god suddenly laughed out loud. Interesting. You suit my taste. No wonder Mystic Marshall said that you were born to be a demon. Okay, I agree with him. Thank you, Senior Demon God. The demon god said, however, it can't be 3,000 years. My prestige can suppress them for at most 1,000 years. Huh? The demon god said, do you think I'll stay here for 3,000 years? After I reappear in the sea realm? In 1,000 years at most, I and many old friends here will go to the Sea of Stars. At that time, although some people will stay, they won't be able to stop these guys from the Central Sea divine realm. Han Fei said, then make it 1,000 years. What the human race needed now was time. Not to mention 1,000 years, 100 years was extremely important. With the current growth speed of the human race, in 1,000 years, it was enough for the human race to nurture countless cultivators. Although they weren't comparable to the other 5 lineages, the human race at that time wasn't easy to destroy. Besides, it wasn't that he wouldn't grow up. In 1,000 years, Han Fei didn't dare to say that he would definitely become a great monarch, but he was confident that he would cultivate to the peak of the immortal level. As for the Emperor Sparrow, Little Black and Little White, they were more likely to surpass him. Rumble. Rumble. 2 cracks of the great Tao appeared in a row, and the battle here had gone crazy. Those who were suppressed in the God-fiend sea were all great villains and lawless powerhouses. So what if a group of great monarchs came from the Central Sea divine realm? In the end, they couldn't escape death. Countless strong masters in the 5 divine realms of the sea realm were horrified at this moment. The death of one great monarch after another was a rare spectacle that hadn't occurred in tens of thousands of years. In the South Sea divine realm, Feng Yu sent a message to Han Fei in a daze. Little junior brother, did you invite eldest senior brother over? Han Fei replied, no, it's just some seniors in the God-fiend sea. They are a little hungry and are hunting for some food. Feng Yu. Deep in the infinite mining area, in Hidden Monarch City. Someone looked at the God-fiend sea. The people in the God-fiend sea have finally come out. From today on, the age of doom may end. When countless people looked at the East Sea divine realm, the dark seal of the God-fiend sea finally disappeared. In just one day, the blood of 37 great monarchs dyed the East Sea red. Only 5 people escaped. Fortunately, none of the so-called 3 ancestors escaped. This was because they were facing people even older and more terrifying than them. The reason why 5 great monarchs escaped was that the people from the God-fiend sea were still feeble and hadn't recovered to their peak state. Otherwise, it was impossible for them to escape. Han Fei was very satisfied with this result. The great monarchs might be precious, but what did it have to do with him? Anyway, at this moment, the entire sea realm was shocked. The East Sea divine realm had become a forbidden area for the great monarchs, and no one dared to come. In this place, only 3 great monarchs were released. Yes, they were released, not that they couldn't be killed. The demon god stood in front of the 3 great monarchs who weren't from the ancient 6 lineages and said indifferently, "Go back and tell the strong masters of the Central Sea divine realm that I'll protect the human race. Anyone who dares to touch the human race again will be killed." After the great monarch battle, most of the place where the God-fiend sea was had become forbidden places. Many strong masters from the major factions in the infinite mining area fled. They were not stupid. How could they not be afraid when the great Tao crack of that level appeared 37 times a day? Especially the major factions in the infinite mining area, they all knew that the human race was heading towards the infinite mining area. Although they didn't know about the arrival of the great monarchs, the Tao proving level, carefree level, and immortal level cultivators had appeared repeatedly and even stayed. Now, more than 400 years had passed. No one expected the war to end in such a way. Some people who didn't understand the situation ran away in the end. Han Fei and the demons came to the infinite mining area, but they didn't launch an attack on the infinite mining area immediately. They could kill those great monarchs, but couldn't attack ordinary people. At this moment, Han Fei picked the mine demon stream where the puppet city used to be and began to cook. The 1,072 people had been hungry for too long. Fortunately, they were not picky, so the simplest and most convenient hot pot and barbecue could satisfy them. The hot pot was delicious and there were enough seasonings. The demons didn't have as strong a desire for delicious food as the 5th senior brother did, so the dishes were devoured almost instantly. In addition to the 3 great monarchs that the Eastern divine crocodile threw to Han Fei, a total of 34 great monarchs became the food of these demons. Especially the patriarch of the silver wolf race, his huge body was eaten up. Han Fei kept his word and ate and drank with the demons for 3 days and 3 nights, drinking and eating to his heart's content. In the past 3 days, Han Fei had seen the suppressing pressure of the demons constantly becoming stronger. In addition to the energy provided by the great monarch's flesh and blood, the energy in this world gathered together. And one after another spiritual veins and earthly veins connected and came through. On this day, Han Fei and the old turtle were sitting on the edge of the mine demon stream. Both of them looked at the mine demon stream with mixed feelings. Han Fei asked, "Old Yuan, where did your clone take the demon vanquishing tree?" Old Yuan said leisurely, "Go on a new path and embark on a new journey." "You?" "No, I always leave a way out for myself." Han Fei nodded slightly and asked, "What is your plan next?" The sea realm will definitely be in chaos now that we've appeared. In the Godfiend Sea, many of our old friends failed to weather through the corrosion of time and perished. Therefore, we'll definitely take revenge. As he spoke, the Eastern Divine Crocodile came over with a few skewers of barbecue and handed one to Old Yuan and Han Fei respectively. Hey, our enemies are all over the 5 divine realms. After this banquet, we'll return. And the sea realm will definitely be in chaos. Crunch. Han Fei took the skewers and took a bite. The sizzling gravy was gushing out. Han Fei said, "Senior, although you have already come out, you still have to be careful on this trip. You should recover your strength before going to seek revenge. If you can survive in the Godfiend Sea to this day, the ancestors of many factions can probably survive to this day too." Ha ha ha. The Eastern Divine Crocodile laughed out loud. It doesn't matter whether we'll live or die is up to fate. The heavens want us to live, so we certainly won't seek death. Besides, now that we won't mutate, we are all extreme Tao powerhouses. There aren't many people who can rival us in the world. From a distance, someone laughed and scolded, "Damn crocodile, stop bragging. There are not many strong masters in the sea realm, but there are many in the Sea of Stars." Eastern Divine Crocodile sneered. "It's not easy for me to come out. Isn't it? A matter of course for me to stay in the sea realm and enjoy 1,000 years of peace?" Jiang Honghua said, "There's no need to rush for revenge. We've just turned to cultivate the singular extreme Tao and haven't stabilized this Tao yet. When this Tao stabilizes, it's time for us to see this world. After 1,000,000 years of cultivation, even if we can't become gods, it won't be a problem for us to advance further. It'll be easy for us to break through to the great monarch realm." Suddenly, Li Tiangon said, "Everyone, I'm leaving. I've been away from the East Sword Pavilion for too long. I'll go back and pay tribute to my master." Sky Ghost Toad said, "Old Li, your master slashed you 3 times and drove you out of the sect. Why are you going back now?" Li Tiangon said, "He's my master after all. Now that he has perished and the East Sword Pavilion has declined, I have to leave something for them. Besides, my mood is different when I return this time. I can also comprehend some of the teachings of my master in the past. Perhaps I can transcend the divine tribulation in the East Sword Pavilion." Buzz. Everybody who was having fun looked at Li Tiangon. Han Fei also looked over in surprise. He was about to transcend the divine tribulation? That was unbelievable. The demon god had just woken up, and Li Tiangon was going to transcend the divine tribulation. Then there would be 2 gods among them. Jiang Honghua clicked her tongue. "That's great. Your tribulation is not hatred, and my enemy is already nowhere to be seen. Fine, I'll go to the Central Sea Divine Realm this time to see if I can make up with my past. After that, I may have to transcend the divine tribulation too. Old Li, come and guard me then." "Okay." Eastern Divine Crocodile glanced at Old Yuan and the big toad who was still eating and drinking. "Old Yuan, Old Ghost, you too should have the ability to transcend the divine tribulation too, right?" "When?" Old Yuan said, "I'm going to resolve my long-cherished wish. If it's fast, it'll take hundreds of years. If it's slow, it'll take 1,000 years." Sky Ghost Toad laughed. "Old Li, I'll go with you to take a look at the divine tribulation. Li Tiangon nodded slightly. Okay. For a moment, everyone talked about their next plans. Han Fei could tell that this was a farewell. They might meet again in the sea realm, but for now, they still had to complete some of the karma they had made. Li Tiangon said, "Everyone, goodbye." As for Sky Ghost Toad, he left with a pot, leaving only laughter. Thief. Smelly Toad. Put down the pot. B** starred, I haven't finished eating yet. Then, Jiang Honghua cupped her hands. Everyone, I'll be on my way. Eastern Divine Crocodile said, hey, they're all gone. Aren't they going to back up Han Fei? The people from the hidden monarch city have peeped at us many times. Someone laughed. We've backed him up for 3 days and 3 nights. It's enough. Han Fei was also a little stunned and immediately understood something. Yes. Where couldn't they eat? These big shots seemed to be eating and drinking here. For 3 days, but in fact, they were here to back up Han Fei. Han Fei immediately cupped his hands. Thank you, seniors. Someone laughed. No need to thank us. We can come out because of you. Someone chuckled. I like your temper. If you need anything in the future, remember to tell me. Sure. These people said goodbye and left one after another. In the end, only the demon god, Old Yuan, and Xia Wuquan were left. The demon god didn't leave. It seemed that he was looking at the scenery. He gazed into the distance as if he had the ability to overlook the divine realms. At this moment, everyone had almost left, and the demon god said indifferently, there are gods in the sea realm. Han Fei couldn't help but look over. The demon god said, the gods can't die so easily. It's not easy to find their whereabouts. Although I don't know how many gods there are in the sea realm. From the heavenly signs, it can be seen that there must be gods hidden in the world. Han Fei, I'll wait for you to become a god. With that, the demon god took a step forward and disappeared. Old Yuan said, even the demon god is gone. I should go too. Han Fei, grow strong quickly. You came out at this time and we came back at this time. Everything seems to be a coincidence, but there are no coincidences in the world. If we appear, it will definitely cause chaos in the sea realm, and in chaotic times, strong masters will rise. Some ancient existences in the past might revive. This is not a good thing. It might be a sign before a disaster erupts. Upon hearing this, Han Fei nodded slightly. I hope to transcend the divine tribulation with you. Heh. Are you kidding me? In the end, Old Yuan glanced at Xia Wuquan, who was still calmly stuffing meat into his mouth and said, why are you still here? Xia Wuquan said, you can go your own way. The infinite mining area is suitable for my cultivation. In less than 100 years, I will return to my peak state. Old Yuan said, it's up to you. I'm leaving. After Old Yuan left, Han Fei sat next to Xia Wuquan and had another drink with him. Senior Xia, why don't you recuperate in the human race? Xia Wuquan said, I'd better stay away from you. Otherwise, you humans won't be able to cultivate. Han Fei was stunned. It did make sense. How could ordinary people compete for spiritual energy with a great monarch? Xia Wuquan said, I'll find a place to eat, slowly. Go about your business. Well, after you take action, you'd better go to the hidden monarch city later. After all, they are guarding this place. If you don't visit them, they will be unhappy. Han Fei nodded. That's exactly my plan. What Xie Wuquan meant was that after Han Fei took over the infinite mining area, Han Fei would definitely take over the infinite mining area. Xie Wuquan left with the big pot. Han Fei didn't know where he went, but he was in the mining area anyway. Outside the mine demon stream. Buzz. Han Fei's heart did a flip. In his origin star, Luo Xiaobai, the Beast King, Lu Qianxi, and the elders of the lava giants appeared one after another. After a while, the human race's sky openers, the 10 legions, and billions of humans were all released. For a moment, the entire mining demon stream was overcrowded. At this moment, the mining demon stream was no longer the mining demon stream as before. After the ominous was gone, the mine demon stream had returned to normal. Because it was a place where mineral veins gathered, the number of ordinary mine demons around was not small. Of course, the human race wouldn't stay here forever, but this place could be used as a temporary training ground. When all the infinite mining areas were conquered, the footprints of human beings would spread throughout the entire infinite mining area. At this moment, hundreds of billions of human powerhouses were surprised to see this strange place. They sensed the abundant energy here, and the spiritual energy density was much higher than in the wilderness. Is this the infinite mining area? What intense spiritual energy! The energy concentration is so high. Any more enemies? I'm afraid you're crazy. Master Human Emperor and the others are all standing there. They don't look nervous at all. How can there be enemies? Finally, we have won the last victory. From the moment Master Human Emperor returned, I knew we would win. Hey, are we going to hold a celebratory feast? I don't think so. The infinite mining area doesn't belong to our human race yet. If we want to take this place down, we'll have to fight. Master Human Emperor is back. It'll be a breeze for us to take down this place. At this moment, people were discussing spiritedly. Han Fei's voice resounded. My fellow humans, I am Human Emperor Han Fei. What I want to tell you is that our human race has passed the most difficult time. From now on, we don't have to worry anymore. We will start our golden age in this infinite mining area under our feet. Roar. The Human Emperor is awesome. Ha ha ha, as I said, the war is over. Master Human Emperor is invincible. The B** stars from the Central Sea Divine Realm have finally been driven away by us. Before Han Fei finished speaking, the humans were already overjoyed. In the past 400 years, they didn't dare to slack off at all. Everyone was cultivating hard. All their goals were the same, to become stronger, and stronger. Today, Han Fei's words made many people cry. Han Fei continued, my fellow humans, although the human race is safe now, this is not the time for us to slack off. Although we are already safe, we cannot let our 70 billion human brothers and sisters die in vain. The Central Sea Divine Realm bullied our human race, and I will definitely return it tenfold. But now is not the time for me to take action, because the human race hasn't grown into a towering tree yet. I can tell you that the golden age of the human race doesn't mean that the human race no longer has enemies. I can ensure 1,000 years of peace and recuperation for the human race, but we can't just hide in this corner of the infinite mining area. The sea realm is vast, with 5 divine realms and a territory of trillions of kilometers, all of which our human race will explore. In 1,000 years, we might face even more challenges. So, please cherish the 1,000 years to come. 1,000 years. 1,000 years of peace is already a luxury. With so many enemies around, how much pressure does Master Human Emperor have to bear to ensure the peace of the human race for 1,000 years? After the trip to the wilderness and 400 years of fighting, I realized that 100 years is a hurdle, not to mention 1,000 years. I dare not hope for 1,000 years of peace. Everyone, don't be pessimistic. As the human emperor said, our human race is going to set foot in all parts of the sea realm. This is to better strengthen our human race, so we should be looking forward to it. That's right. In this battle and cultivation, we have too many things to settle down. The human race in 1,000 years will definitely be different from now. Han Fei's voice sounded again. Brothers and sisters, the infinite mining area is not under our control yet. Hundreds of forces from the sea realm are entrenched here. But none of this is important. These forces are as insignificant as ants to our human race. I will personally lead you to fight. Any explorer or above can come out and follow me to fight. Let's take over the infinite mining area. Count me in. Ha ha ha. Master Human Emperor is personally leading the expedition. How can we not go? With Lord Human Emperor here, are we going to fight? No, we're going to pick up treasures that are everywhere. I can't miss such a good opportunity. I didn't expect to encounter such a good thing as soon as I arrived at the infinite mining area. This reminds me of the scene when we swept through the 10,000 scale race. Ah. Why can't law enforcers go? What are you thinking? It's said that even a small mine demon in the infinite mining area can't be stopped by law enforcers. Even explorers can only go there to mine. Are you courting death? Then why can you explorers go? Isn't that obvious? Explorers have transcended tribulations. How can we be like you law enforcers? Besides, we're going to pick up treasures. Do you really think that when Master Human Emperor goes to battle, it'll be our turn to fight? That's right. Young people are too immature. They don't know what it means for Lord Human Emperor to go to war. After that, Han Fei said, Hong Yu, stay here and take care of the human beings below this realm. Hong Yu said, Master Human Emperor, you're all gone. What if? Han Fei said, there's no if. Just stay here and take care of the remaining people. Don't let the mine demons invade. It's very safe here. Even if great monarchs come, they will die. Ah. Okay. Han Fei looked at a peak where Chu Hao was sitting cross-legged. He had been seriously injured and needed to recuperate, so he didn't need to join in the battle in the infinite mining area. In the infinite mining area, the power of the 10,000 scale race no longer existed. As early as the destruction of the 10,000 scale race, countless enemies had come to plunder resources. Unexpectedly, however, the power of the 10,000 scale race in the infinite mining area, which the other forces had thought to be easy to deal with, failed to be conquered after a long time. Besides, Zhang Beihai provoked, caused trouble, and looted everywhere. In just a few hundred years, more than 10 forces had been destroyed by him. The major forces had also besieged Zhang Beihai as many as 11 times. Finally, in the 5th siege, they destroyed the 10,000 scale races power and executed Zhang Beihai. However, Zhang Beihai didn't die, but miraculously survived. So it became Zhang Beihai's revenge. having no choice, the major forces could only continue to besiege Zhang Beihai. It wasn't until 200 years ago, when some monarchs from the Central Sea Divine Realm temporarily took a rest in the infinite mining area, that they set a trap and killed Zhang Beihai in the 9th siege. Yes, they had thought that they had killed him, but less than 10 years later, Zhang Beihai had returned again, launching another crazy retaliation against the various forces in the infinite mining area. And this time, Zhang Beihai had already completed his monarch tribulation. Later, some strong masters of the Fist sect in the Central Sea Divine Realm felt that Zhang Beihai was quite strong, so they took him under their wing. However, only 20 years later, when the monarch of the Fist sect went to the Godfiend Sea to participate in the war, the power of the Fist sect in the infinite mining areas was completely corroded by Zhang Beihai, who killed all the people of the Fist sect in the infinite mining area. When the monarch returned, he burst into fury and searched the world frantically for Zhang Beihai. During this period, the two fought many times. In the end, more than 60 years ago, the strong master of the Fist sect found traces of Zhang Beihai and went to kill him. This time, no one thought that Zhang Beihai would survive. After all, the monarch of the Fist sect was very strong. How could a new monarch be his match? However, in that battle, the peak-level Dao-proving level monarch of the Fist sect died in the western mining area of the infinite mining area. This matter became a hot topic for a while, mainly because the strong masters of other forces mocked the strong masters of the Fist sect for being incompetent. Some people also remarked that Zhang Beihai was a remarkable person who had miraculously survived multiple assassinations. He must have been very lucky. Unfortunately, no one had found Zhang Beihai since then. As soon as Han Fei's original body entered the infinite mining area, he received synchronized information. It turned out that Zhang Daqian had hidden in the ferocious beasts settlement. In the past 600 years, Zhang Daqian had provoked and disgusted his opponents in Zhang Beihai's name, angering countless people, and successfully exchanged for 3 chances of nirvanas. This also meant that Zhang Daqian had undergone a total of 4 nirvanas, including the first nirvana he had when he came back from the divine capital dynasty. Every time he underwent nirvana, Zhang Daqian's strength would double. And every time his strength doubled, it meant that Zhang Daqian's potential was several times higher than ordinary people. After only 4 nirvanas, Zhang Daqian had already become one of the top geniuses. At this moment, he had already reached the peak of the Dao proving level. The giant beast divine Dao is really powerful. As long as he keeps making enemies, he can use the other party's anger and huge resources to achieve nirvana. At this rate, if he can be killed by his enemy when he is at the carefree level, immortal level, and great monarch realm, Zhang Daqian's combat power will probably be comparable to that of a dual extreme Dao cultivator. Of course, although it was easy to cause trouble, he had to be sure that he could counterattack after being killed. Otherwise, it would be over if he was killed again after nirvana. The ferocious beast settlement. Obviously knowing that his original body had come, Zhang Daqian immediately found Li Luoluo. I was too naive back then. I thought that I could come over in 100 years, but who knew that it would take more than 500 years? However, although it's a little slow, fortunately, I finally came over. The infinite mining area is ours. Li Luoluo's beautiful eyes lit up. You sensed your original body? By the way, how did you win? So many great monarchs died in a day. Who was helping you? Was it the god back then? Or the Void Temple? Zhang Daqian said, no god joined in that battle. I just befriended some seniors who have been suppressed for many years. Those in the god fiend sea? Li Luoluo couldn't help but ask in surprise, how can they still have such terrifying combat power after being trapped in that damn place for so long? Zhang Daqian said, true cultivators can't be erased with time. Some people are too strong. Even in their weak state, ordinary great monarchs can't compare to them. Li Luoluo was full of curiosity. Unfortunately, I couldn't witness that battle. Hey, what's the strength of your original body now? Where's the Emperor Sparrow? He had proven Tao 400 years ago. Don't tell me he's here too. Compete with me for the right to rule? Zhang Daqian said, you're already a great monarch. What are you worried about? Besides, I'm not very interested in the ferocious beast lineage now. We just need to maintain a good cooperative relationship. Li Luoluo said, now that you've become a monarch, you're much more confident. Forget it, let's send troops. Hurry up and grab territory. Li Luoluo's voice suddenly sounded above the ferocious beast's territory. The army of the ferocious beast lineage gathers and attacks the 100 Alliance city, snatching resources, people, and territory. Clean up all the forces from the Central Sea Divine Realm along the way. Don't show any mercy. Since the ferocious beasts took action, the divine beasts immediately reacted. Lord Fire, the ferocious beasts have sent their troops. The blazing fire Kylan was refreshed. Here he comes. He actually did it. So many great monarchs have died. I really don't dare to believe it's all because of Han Fei. The blazing fire Kylan sighed for a while and immediately shouted, the divine beasts will march to the 100 Alliance city, near the southern area. Capture all the people from the Central Sea Divine Realm and take them to the 100 Alliance city. 100 Alliance city. A strong master, from the Divine Capital Dynasty said to his subordinates. It's about time. Take down all the forces controlled by the dynasty. In the capital of horror, Xiangxiang said, we've been ambushed for many years. It's time to reel in the net and grab as much territory as possible. Han Fei led the human army in a mighty sweep. Along the way, all kinds of demons turned into mines and fell into the hands of the human race. The human army finally understood what the infinite mining area was. Along the way, they had passed by more than a dozen super mineral veins of various sizes. More importantly, the mines that erupted from the body of a single mine demon were simply worth 10,000 high-quality spiritual stones. Unfortunately, it was impossible for Han Fei to stop and let them mine during the march. But they all knew that this territory would be theirs in the future. After leaving the northern mining area, the danger was greatly reduced. Han Fei's goal was the 100 Alliance city. Although he said that he was here to sweep the infinite mining areas, in fact, he didn't need to do anything at all. He was confident that the people who should have received the news had already received it. What he needed to do was to take over territories. In the end, after leading the human race to wander for a full 7 days and realizing the richness of the infinite mining area, Han Fei still thought that the explorer's march speed was too slow. In the end, he took everyone with him. In the past 7 days, astronomical changes were common. It was naturally the people who should take action taking action. By the time Han Fei came to the 100 Alliance city, the population of the city was 1/3 less than when he came before, Few people could enter the infinite mining area in the first place. The 100 Alliance City was said to be a city jointly managed by 100 major powers, and all the people coming and going were strong masters. But now, there were no 100 major powers here at all. Han Fei spread out his perception and found that there were only a dozen forces here, as well as some sky openers who didn't seem to belong to any forces. These people followed behind the camp of itinerant cultivators, seeming to be watching the show. The mighty human army was released by Han Fei and spread tens of millions of kilometers. Humans certainly needed to have an imposing presence when they made an appearance. Formation. The sky openers of the human race and the 10 legions all shouted. They knew that something important was coming. When Han Fei took them to the northern mining area, they didn't have to be too restrained. But now, this was a meeting of all the powers. The human race might not be that strong, but they definitely couldn't lose in momentum. Billions of human cultivators followed Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai into the safe area where the 100 Alliance City was located. Beside Han Fei, in addition to Luo Xiaobai, there was another person, who was Zhou Run. After the farewell in the Divine Capital Dynasty, the Avengers Alliance led by Zhou Run had moved to the capital of Horror. Now that the human race had conquered the infinite mining area, the Avenger Alliance naturally had to return. After all, although they were considered heavenly talents in the capital of Horror, it wasn't their territory. No matter how well the capital of Horror treated them, they were living under someone else's roof. On the human side, Han Fei was their boss after all, so they naturally felt different. Han Fei said, Zhou Run, it's not a problem to bring you back from the capital of Horror, but this is not a chance for you to use the human race to deal with the big clans of the Divine Capital Dynasty. At least, it's still far from that time. Zhou Run said, of course, we're not that stupid. It isn't easy for the human race to gain a foothold. You still have a lot of things to do and need to recuperate for a long time. Even if the human race really rises, we won't use the human race to do our things. We'll take back what we lost on our own. Han Fei said, okay. Don't worry. The infinite mining area has existed for a long time. The major forces and itinerant cultivators won't give it up. These itinerant cultivators are a group of people you can recruit. But I won't give you these rights for free. Zhou Run nodded solemnly. Understood. The Avengers will eventually belong to the human race's camp. We will spare no effort to help the human race grow and develop. Han Fei smiled and said, haha. There's no need to be so serious. Our human race is quite friendly. As long as you don't do anything to let us down, I can protect you no matter what you do. At least in the infinite mining area, I guarantee. Han Fei said it casually, but Zhou Run just responded with a smile. This was because he knew that human beings were human beings after all. There were conditions for Han Fei to allow them to grow and establish their own forces. Han Fei could joke with him, but he couldn't joke with Han Fei. In Zhou Run's opinion, the rise of the human race was inevitable. Han Fei could even survive that deadly situation outside the God-fiend sea and dared to promise the human race 1,000 years of peace for recuperation. This was not something he could do with words. Although Zhou Run didn't know what had happened for the time being, he knew that the Central Sea Divine Realm had definitely suffered a loss, or even a huge loss. 100 Alliance City. Here they come. So many people. The human race already has so many strong cultivators? Is this the human army that has fought bloody battles for 400 years outside the God-fiend sea? There should be more. Only humans above the explorer realm have come. However, this number. It seems that the human race is going to conquer half of the infinite mining area in one go? Half of the infinite mining area? Isn't this too much? I'm talking about the half of the infinite mining area that has already been explored. Those unexplored places, naturally, can't be counted. That's still too much. Outside the city, Han Fei stood still, and the sky-opening realm army behind him stopped marching and ordered everyone to stay on the spot. Han Fei, Luo Xiaobai, and Zhou Run entered the city as representatives. The reason why Zhou Run was added was naturally that the rise of the human race needed smart people like Zhou Run. In terms of knowledge of the sea realm and the intrigues between some forces, as a member of the big clans in the sea realm, Zhou Run knew a lot. As for Luo Xiaobai, she had led the human race for 400 years. Han Fei could tell that she was very tired, and it was time for her to take off some of her burden. Before entering the 100 Alliance city, countless pairs of eyes were looking at him. Outside the city, there were already more than a dozen masters of forces waiting for Han Fei. Han Fei even knew a few of them. It was Wu Shuang from the capital of horror, and Xiang who was following Wu Shuang. They were Han Fei's old acquaintances. If Han Fei won, the capital of horror would definitely send Wu Shuang over. There was no suspense in this. As for the representative of the divine capital dynasty, it was a little unexpected. It turned out to be Princess Lan Xian. She seemed to have a particularly good relationship with Fengyu. However, she didn't know Han Fei's relationship with Fengyu, so he didn't have to treat her specially. The people from the East Sword Pavilion were unexpectedly Wang Beichen and Wang Yijian. Yes, it was Wang Yijian. After not seeing him for so long, Wang Yijian had already reached the perfected star transformation realm, and Wang Beichen had already proven his Dao. As for the person from the Ghost Strait, it was Reninging, Zhang Xuanyu's so-called senior sister. Although he didn't have a good relationship with the Ghost Strait back then, Zhang Xuanyu had joined it after all, and now they had Reninging come over, which made Han Fei have to treat them differently. The one from the chaotic wasteland was Duan Qingxi. It didn't matter if they came or not. He would definitely keep a portion for them. Deng Xingtian, who came from the Fist Light Mountain, had also proved his Dao. But he had only had a meal with Deng Xingtian, and this guy had come over too. Freeload, so he wasn't familiar with him. Apart from that, there were some people that Han Fei didn't recognize. However, Luo Xiaobai said, the one in the blood-colored battle suit came from the Sky Crater world. He was my former commander, Wu Zhan. But you don't have to give him face. Just follow your own train of thought. Han Fei nodded slightly and looked into the 100 Alliance city. Li Luoluo was eating with several ferocious beasts waiting around her. No one dared to approach her. On the divine beast's side, the blazing fire Kylan was eating on the other side, cupping his hands at Han Fei. The divine beasts and the ferocious beasts were not on good terms, but at the same time, their relationship with Han Fei was not as good as Li Luoluo with Han Fei, so they still had to follow etiquette. Li Luoluo said, "You guys talk. I'm going to wander around the city and have some fun. It's been a long time since I've been out, so don't call me." "Okay, have fun." Han Fei had already made plans for the divine beasts and ferocious beasts, so it made no difference whether they participated or not. Han Fei landed, nodded at Wu Shuang, and then looked directly at Wang Yijian. Long time no see. Wang Yijian nodded slightly and didn't change his attitude towards Han Fei. Because of the change of Han Fei's power, it's a pity that I couldn't participate in the battle. Han Fei was about to speak, when Wang Beichen continued, Brother Han, don't blame him. When he came to the infinite mining area not long after he came out of seclusion, this place had already been sealed. He killed more than 300 enemies in anger, but in the end, he couldn't pass. Han Fei shook his head. It's okay. But Brother Beichen, you'd better go back to the East Sword Pavilion now. Huh? Wang Beichen's face changed slightly. Did something happen to the East Sword Pavilion? Wang Yijian also frowned slightly, as if he was worried that something bad would happen. Han Fei shook his head. No, it's just that the East Sword Pavilion will welcome a huge opportunity. If the two of you want to improve on the sword Dao, you'd better rush back. After all, the #1 sword cultivator in history should have reached the East Sword Pavilion by now. The #1 sword cultivator in history? Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but look at Han Fei. Who dares to claim to be the #1 sword cultivator in history? Wang Beichen and Wang Yijian looked at each other. Han Fei's words were too exaggerated, but Han Fei didn't have to lie to them. Since he said that there was such a person, there must be. Wang Beichen looked at the others and hesitated, but Wang Yijian's eyes lit up. Really? Han Fei said, I didn't say that. It was said by a great monarch from the Central Sea Divine Realm. If I'm not mistaken, a god is about to be born in your East Sword Pavilion. What? Buzz. Everyone was in an uproar. Was it that exaggerated? Princess Lan Xian said, the divine path seems to have been cut off in the sea realm, right? How can anyone transcend the divine tribulation? Han Fei didn't know much about becoming a god. Some people said that the divine path had been severed, but the big shots he knew all said that God had always existed in the sea realm. He hadn't reached that level, so he didn't ask about it. But since Li Tiangan said that he was going to transcend the divine tribulation, he should be able to, right? After all, Li Tiangan wasn't stupid. Han Fei said, that's for the strong masters to decide. Although Wang Beichen and Wang Yijian were old-fashioned sword cultivators, they couldn't help but be shocked at this moment. Immediately, Wang Beichen cupped his fists. Brother Han, then we'll take our leave. Han Fei said, go. Just leave a few people here. After that, Han Fei looked at Wang Yijian. No matter what, just remember that you are a human. If the human race is in trouble in the future, try your best to help the human race out. Also, if you have a chance in the future, take in some disciples from the human race and teach them the sword Dao. Wang Yijian nodded slightly. Okay, I'll try my best. With that, the two of them said goodbye to Han Fei and flew away. They didn't come here for the interests of the East Sword Pavilion. Wang Yijian wanted to fight for the human race, and Wang Beichen was forced to come and take care of Wang Yijian, by the way. At this moment, hearing that there would be such a shocking change in the East Sword Pavilion, although they looked calm on the surface, they couldn't wait. The conversation between Han Fei and Wang Yijian was witnessed by others. The East Sword Pavilion was going to have a god, which was a huge event. It would directly change the status of the East Sword Pavilion in the East Sword Pavilion. There were still 3 people from the East Sword Pavilion here. They were also excited, but they had to stay to listen to the new plan of the infinite mining area, so they could only stay. However, when they looked at Han Fei again, they felt very intimate to him. The others weren't stupid either. Han Fei's words seemed casual, but considering his relationship with Wang Beichen and Wang Yijin and his tone when he talked about the so-called #1 sword cultivator in history, the human race was already strong enough to take down the infinite mining area. All the major forces were excited too. Was a god about to be born? Wasn't it said that the path of divinity had been broken? How could someone still become a god now? Of course, Han Fei meant to warn the other forces here. After all, the friendship with a god was too threatening. Then Han Fei looked at Ren Yingying and smiled. Why didn't that guy come? Ren Yingying said, the patriarch said that with his strength, it's meaningless for him to come. 400 years ago, he was suppressed by the patriarch in the ancestral forbidden land of the Ghost Strait to receive the inheritance. When he came out of seclusion, he would have already proven Tao. Han Fei nodded slightly. Yes, indeed. Without strength, everything is useless. However, when he comes out of seclusion, it's not appropriate for him to stay in the Ghost Strait anymore. The strong are not cultivated but fought their way through. He knows this very well. I think the Ghost Strait should also understand this. Ren Yingying bowed slightly. Of course. After he takes over the inheritance, the Ghost Strait will no longer restrict him. Han Fei nodded and then looked at Wu Shuang. You've reached the immortal level. So quick. Wu Shuang responded with a smile, compared to you, it's still too slow. At this time, Luo Xiaobai also nodded at Wu Zhan. I was too busy to inform you. Han Fei said that he would ask for leave for Luo Xiaobai, but he really didn't have the time, so he dropped the matter. A rare smile appeared on Wu Zhan's solemn face. I understand. You did a good job. Han Fei simply greeted them and then said to the crowd, since everyone is here, let's get started. Some things have to be decided. After a while, everyone came to a meeting hall. But this time, the main character could only be Han Fei. Han Fei, Luo Xiaobai, and Zhou Run sat down. The internal meeting of the major forces in the East Sea Divine Realm began. Han Fei said bluntly, as you all know, since I'm here, the pattern of the infinite mining area will have to be reset. First of all, I hope to reach a consensus with you. That is, in the infinite mining area, except for the divine beasts and ferocious beasts, all the other forces can only occupy a supermineral vein as the foothold. The reason why our human race is not included is very simple. It's because we have too many people. Furthermore, our human race will undoubtedly take a dominant position in the infinite mining area. Hiss. Instantly, the atmosphere became a little subtle. Except for Wu Shuang, Princess Lan Xian, and the others, everyone felt that Han Fei wouldn't have to take over such a large territory all at once, right? Many forces finally took advantage of the chaos to eat a lot of mineral veins. But Han Fei clearly wanted them to vomit all of them out. Then, Han Fei said, secondly, all forces, including our human race, can share the cities, gathering places, or mines. Share? Someone couldn't help but ask, Master Human Emperor, what do you mean by share? Han Fei grinned and said, I want to establish a free infinite mining area. And all the major forces can only occupy one supermine. I'm not restricting you, but I'm just giving you a foothold. As for sharing, it's easy to understand. We, the human race, will maintain peaceful, harmonious, friendly, and mutually supportive relationships with all major forces. These major forces, including itinerant cultivators, can conduct business, reside, explore, and mine together in the human race's territory. Everyone can communicate with each other, help each other, and grow together instead of fighting over one or two mineral veins and resorting to violence. After a pause, Han Fei continued, our human race naturally won't be stuck in our own territory. Since we're in a mutually beneficial relationship, we naturally have a lot of people willing to join the major forces. For a moment, many people fell into deep thought. At this time, Wu Zhan, the commander who came from the Sky Crater world, said, Master Human Emperor, the Sky Crater world has been fighting all year round and consumes a lot of resources. In the past, we were more inclined to dig by force. I wonder what Master Human Emperor will do about it now. Han Fei said, Commander Wu, you might not know this, but there are a lot of human beings in our human race, 120 billion. And in the next 1,000 years, we will reproduce, so there will only be more. The Sky Crater world can totally buy resources from the human race. Buy resources? Wu Zhan asked, the mines are a kind of resource, equivalent to currency. Is there a way to buy currency? Han Fei said, exchange. I won't keep it a secret. The human race hasn't been in the sea realm for long and hasn't interacted much with the strong masters of the sea realm. We badly lack combat skills, cultivation techniques, weapons, arrays, and other resources. And the Sky Crater world can exchange two things for various resources. One is points, and the other is things that points can be exchanged for. I believe that with the things in the hands of the Sky Crater world, we can exchange for a large number of mines almost effortlessly. Commander Wu, what do you? Wu Zhan smiled. This solution was not bad. When he went back, the probability of passing was almost 100%. If there was really something that couldn't be exchanged, he wouldn't take it. As for whether the human race would learn those combat skills or not, they really didn't care at all. They even hoped that the human race could master these combat skills and techniques. Their ultimate goal was not to deal with the gods, but to fight the ultimate ominous battle. As for the human race, such a super race would eventually embark on the path to fight the ominous. Then why should they stop this spread? Princess Lan Xian said with a smile, in that case, we naturally won't object. However, won't Master Human Emperor feel that it's a loss? Once shared, it is equivalent to the human race sharing something that was obtained at the cost of their lives with others. Seeing that Princess Lan Xian was echoing him, Han Fei smiled and said, if the human race wants to be strong and rise quickly, we have to absorb the strengths of everyone. Let's rise peacefully and create a free and thriving infinite mining area. This should be more meaningful than the previous model of the infinite mining area. On the side of the itinerant cultivators, they were all smiling. Han Fei's words made them feel that he was simply supporting itinerant cultivators. Once this plan was carried out, the itinerant cultivators would no longer need to form groups. The entire infinite mining area would be a large group. Han Fei said, everyone, I know the situation of the human race. I won't elaborate. In short, from today onwards, no one can own a second large super mine. Some people were overjoyed, and some were slightly amazed. It turned out that their long-time preparation was in vain. Under such circumstances, who dared to challenge Han Fei? Those great monarchs had died one after another. How could they confront Han Fei? Zhou Run luoked at Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai and thought to himself, this move is really awesome. Indeed, what the human race lacks now is not mineral at all, but opportunities to communicate with the various major forces and various strong masters. The many techniques mastered by the major forces will definitely flow into the hands of the human race in large quantities. Clearly, the human race and the major forces had mutual exchanges and shared resources, which was extremely beneficial to the human race. Wu Shuang asked, what about the divine beasts and the ferocious beasts? Han Fei smiled and said, the divine beasts and the ferocious beasts will still control the southern and western mining areas. However, any divine beast and ferocious beast can freely enter any place in the infinite mining area. They can coexist with us and are not much different from before. They are our human race's allies. When the divine beasts and ferocious beasts fought against the 10,000 scale race, Han Fei had already informed them. This time, Li Luoluo and the blazing fire Kailan didn't come to snatch territory, but to tell everyone that the human race had many allies. Seeing that everyone was deep in thought. Clang! Clang! Han Fei gently knocked on the table. What do you think? Princess Lan Xian said, what if the human race grows up and no longer needs the resources provided by the other forces? Han Fei smiled and said, everyone, the sea realm is vast and almost boundless. It's impossible for the strong masters of our human race to live in this corner for long. Besides, the principle of peaceful coexistence has been the most acceptable and favorite way for our human race for a long time. After all, not everything needs to be ended by war. Okay. I agree. Ren Yingying, the representative of the East Sword Pavilion, took the lead to express her stance. Princess Lan Xian also nodded in agreement. Everyone could see that Han Fei intended to integrate the human race into the sea realm and the myriad races. At this moment, the best option was to accept Han Fei's proposal. Otherwise, he had the power to expel any force at any time, such as the heavenly race, who didn't even bother sending people over because they knew there would be no chance for them and they might even be wiped out. Although they had already controlled enough territory, they had to give up at this moment. Wu Shuang nodded. I agree. Such an infinite mining area is very attractive too. The entire East Sea Divine Realm and even the entire Sea Realm. On the side of the itinerant cultivators, they sighed. Thank you for your generosity, human emperor. This will definitely attract countless itinerant cultivators. Although itinerant cultivators are not necessarily very strong, our cultivation paths are diverse and we have extensive knowledge. If we share what we've learned, it'll definitely help humans integrate into the sea realm faster. Han Fei got up and patted Zhou Run's shoulder. In the future, these things will be handled by Zhou Run. Everyone, continue chatting. I'll go greet the divine beasts and the ferocious beasts. Wu Shuang suddenly said, Brother Han, what do you plan to do with the strong masters from the Central Sea Divine Realm? This time, many forces haven't had the time to leave and have already been taken down by us. Han Fei patted Zhou Run's shoulder with a smile and said, anyone who has ever offended, our human race will be killed without mercy. The rest will be expelled. With that, Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai got up and left. Zhou Run looked at everyone with a smile. Then, please take out the mineral veins in your hands first. Meeting the blazing fire Qilin and Li Luo, Han Fei's thoughts were much simpler. His goal was to let these two families take care of the human race and become allies. As for whether these two families would continue to be enemies against each other, it had nothing to do with Han Fei. After doing all this, Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai walked on the streets of the 100 Alliance City. Luo Xiaobai said indifferently, now that the human race's business is over, I should leave. Han Fei asked, where are you going? Luo Xiaobai said, currently, the sea realm is full of demons. Without strength, we can't deal with what will happen in the future. Let's meet again in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Han Fei frowned slightly. Are you going to the Central Sea Divine Realm at this moment? Luo Xiaobai said, they're all dead. Who would know me? Han Fei nodded slightly. Judging from the current situation of the Sea Realm, the Central Sea Divine Realm was indeed the center of the Sea Realm, where many strong masters of the Sea Realm gathered. In terms of rising speed, the Central Sea Divine Realm was definitely the fastest. However, Han Fei still said, let's go back to the chaotic wasteland first. Although my fifth senior brother is lazy and likes to eat, I am sure that he is not an ordinary person. Of all the people I have met so far, there is no one that he doesn't know, regardless of where they are from in the Sea Realm, or how many years ago they became famous. Therefore, you don't have to cultivate with fifth senior brother, but in the Sea Realm, information and intelligence are especially important. If you master these, it'll be very beneficial for your growth. Luo Xiaobai thought for a moment and nodded. Okay. Han Fei said, in addition, I have a divine technique if you go to the Central Sea Divine Realm. Without hesitation, Han Fei gave the divine concealment technique to Luo Xiaobai and then took out Wood Demon Shanshan, who was dying after being refined by the creation Jade Spirit Tower. Although the divine demon forest was an enemy force, it had to be said that they were also a representative force of the ancient six lineages. As for Luo Xiaobai, she had the mutated mixed bloodline of the ancient human race and the ancient demon plant, so the techniques of the divine demon forest were very beneficial to her. 3 days later, alone, Han Fei quietly appeared at the edge of the mining area in the west. Following the guidance of the vast ocean navigator, he plunged into the mist of the mining area in the west. Because the terrain was complicated, it took Han Fei 3 days to break through the layers of fog and come to a magnificent ancient city hidden in the depths of the mining area. Up to now, there were no immortal level or great monarch level mine demons blocking his way. Han Fei was naturally not stupid. The hidden monarch city had been established in the depths of the infinite mining area for so long. The mine demons who dared to attack them had long perished. Those who hadn't perished must have long been under their control. They didn't want to make things difficult for him, which was the reason why his journey was smooth. This city stretched tens of thousands of kilometers, and the giant city wall was branded with some ancient battle marks. With just a glance, Han Fei saw countless sabers and swords rushing at him. However, after being burned by the demon refining for 200 years, his will and faith were already beyond ordinary people's reach. In a breath, he had seen through the illusions here. Taking a slight breath, Han Fei cupped his hands and shouted, I'm Han Fei. From the human race. I'm here to pay my respects to the seniors of the hidden monarch city. Buzz. Crack, crack, crack. The gate of the hidden monarch city, that had been sealed for a long time, slowly opened, but no one came to welcome him. Han Fei was not afraid. He went straight to the door and looked at the words Hidden Monarch City written in ancient characters above his head. He immediately felt infinite suppressing pressure pressing down on him. However, today was very different from when he was in the sky-opening realm. If it was the suppressing pressure of a great monarch, he wouldn't have felt this level of pressure. Then, these 3 words must have been personally written by a god. Huff. Han Fei slowly heaved a sigh of relief to relieve the pressure of this god. Then, he looked away and walked into the city. Buzz. Buzz. The door behind him was slowly closing, and a mist was blowing at his face. Han Fei frowned slightly, but in the next moment, he heard shouts. Kill. The scene in front of him changed, and Han Fei found himself standing on the high platform of the city wall. This city was overcrowded, each of them imposing. The weakest of them was actually in the perfected star transformation realm. And there were millions of such strong masters in this city. In the city, there were hundreds of thousands of strong masters, which shocked Han Fei. With so many monarchs, couldn't such a force sweep across the sea realm? But Han Fei quickly suppressed his shock, because the environment was not right. He looked up, only to see a boundless sea of stars outside, which told him that he was in the sea of stars at this moment, and this city was standing alone in the sea of stars. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of strong masters were charging with millions of strong masters in the perfected star transformation realm. Han Fei was no stranger to the targets of the charge, which were the ominous life forms. However, Han Fei had seen too many ominous creatures to count. The sea of stars flashed and went out, and there were explosions one after another. From time to time, there would be rumbling sounds in the sea of stars. It was the great Tao crack that should have erupted when a monarch died. But in the sea of stars, the death of ordinary monarchs seemed unable to cause the appearance of the heavenly Tao crack, so there was only rumbling sounds. How is it? How is a war of this level different from the war of your human race? Next to Han Fei, he suddenly saw a young man in green clothes, with his hair down, bare feet, and holding a wine calabash in his hand. Han Fei paused and said, Senior, are you a strong master in this illusion, or in the hidden monarch city? Han Fei knew that for some super strong masters, even across time and space, they could feel a wisp of their will or gaze. The young man smiled. Can you guess? Han Fei thought for a moment. This person mentioned the war of the human race. He was most likely from the hidden monarch city, and this illusion was most likely created for him to see. Han Fei didn't say what he had guessed. Instead, he cupped his hands slightly. I'm Han Fei, from the human race. Greetings, Senior. In fact, in my opinion, as long as it's a war, it's no different. When facing life and death, everyone's mentality might be the same. The enemy wants to destroy our human race, so we humans fight to the death and pour our blood on the defense line. Although these people in front of us are very strong, in this vast sea of stars, they're no different from the temporarily weak human race in the ominous eyes. We have no choice. If we retreat, more people will die, and in the end, we won't be able to escape death. Therefore, we have no choice but to kill. What if you can't kill your way out? The person chuckled, but there seemed to be some emotion hidden in his words. Han Fei said firmly, "We will. Since ancient times, it's not the first time that the myriad races have repelled the ominous. Therefore, if we can defeat him once, we can defeat him twice or thrice. Of course, the premise is that the myriad races are united. It's so difficult to unite all races." Han Fei said, "They're about to die. What can they do if they're not united? They have to fight no matter what, don't they?" The young man smiled casually. "Let's talk about the demon purification pot. Do you know what it means to take over the demon purification pot?" Han Fei asked, "What does it mean?" The young man said leisurely, "It's said that no one who controls the demon purification pot has a good ending. In fact, you should be able to understand why. Since ancient times, whoever takes over the demon purification pot has to bear a major responsibility to resist the ominous and even act as the leading force. But when they really fight against the ominous, the person in charge of the demon purification pot will discover that the demon purification pot can't really stop the ominous. Therefore, for the person in charge of the demon purification pot, facing the ominous is actually courting death. Are you still willing to take over the demon purification pot?" Han Fei's pupils were constricted, but then he grinned. "The holders of the demon purification pot may all be talented people, but I am not them. I'm not afraid of death. Otherwise, how could I have grown to my current height and enter the hidden monarch city?" The young cultivator laughed and pointed at the sea of stars. "Look. In the sea of stars, the war scenes were changing. Before, there were millions of troops fighting against the ominous, but at this moment, half of them had died. This casualty rate was ridiculous. The probability of a person growing up from an ordinary cultivator to a monarch was quite low. There was no telling how many people had died and how many difficulties they had experienced during the process. However, in a war of this level, the result was just like this. A large number of strong masters died, and there was no way to continue. Suddenly, the void trembled as a woman dressed in a white skirt stepped forward from the rear of the army. With each step she took, she crossed millions of kilometers, and ripples of light spread out in all directions like water droplets. Instantly, the injuries of countless people were healed wherever the ripples of light passed by. What a strong recovery ability! Han Fei couldn't help but be moved. He thought that the heaven enlightenment divine technique was already extremely powerful, but the power of the woman in front of him made him sigh. The heaven enlightenment divine technique was far from enough. A god? Yes, the strength of that woman exceeded Han Fei's understanding. Perhaps the great monarchs were also very strong, but they definitely couldn't easily revive the injured within tens of millions of kilometers. Even if she was a god, Han Fei felt that this woman was too strong. Sure enough, the woman waved a bell in her hand, and in this sea of stars, mystic sounds rang everywhere, and green light pervaded. In just a moment, hundreds of thousands of ominous creatures were purified. Before the green light bloomed completely, infinite darkness enveloped over, forcibly blocking the green light, but in the end, it was still penetrated by the green light ripples. Behind the darkness, Han Fei saw hundreds of ominous giant monsters that were even larger than his Dharma idol appear above the sea of stars. On top of each giant monster's head stood an ominous life form. Hundreds of ominous monsters attacked at the same time, narrowly blocking the bell ripples. Han Fei frowned. What are these? The man next to him said indifferently, "Those are world-ending level ominous behemoths and world-ending level ominous life forms. You can understand them as great monarchs. More than 200 great monarchs working together to resist a god?" Han Fei knew that the gods were very strong, but this was King ridiculous. This person was comparable to more than 200 great monarchs. The man chuckled and didn't speak. The woman threw the bell in her hand into the air and formed seals with one hand. Behind her, a green circular, divine disc appeared. Swish swish swish. Tens of thousands of green mirrors appeared behind her. In the next moment, green light spewed out of the mirror, like a beam produced by a starburst, enveloping the world-ending level ominous creatures. Puff. 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 One after another, the world-ending level ominous beasts were annihilated. Wherever the green light shone, the ominous creatures were either cut off, pierced through, or annihilated. No one could resist this green light. So strong. The 200 or so world-ending level ominous creatures wanted to launch some kind of ominous shock wave together, but they were scattered by the thousands of green lights. In the blink of an eye, only half of the 200 or so world-ending level ominous creatures were left. At that moment, something seemed to be unable to sit still in the darkness. A huge dark claw that could traverse the hidden monarch city extended out of the dark fog and grabbed at the green light. Instantly, thousands of beams of green light shone at the huge hand. Although a large amount of ominous aura was purged, the huge hand was not destroyed in the end. In the end, the woman had to combine 10,000 mirrors to pierce through the giant claw in one fell swoop. The mirror behind the woman also disappeared, and the divine will of law still floated behind her. The woman didn't attack again, but waited for the owner of the giant hand to come out. Han Fei asked, "What is this?" The young man said, "Well, a doomsday-level ominous creature. You can understand it as a god." Han Fei couldn't help but change his expression, not because he heard that a doomsday-level creature was comparable to a god, but because he saw that from the three voids, there were doomsday-level ominous creatures extending their hands out of the ominous fog. 3 were equivalent to 3 gods. When Han Fei saw the full view of the doomsday-level ominous life forms that crawled out, he couldn't help but be shocked. This thing was really too big. It was definitely the largest creature he had ever seen. Even a huge beast that had cultivated to the level of a god was probably inferior to this thing. They could no longer be considered a body. The entire ominous area could be considered their body, spanning nearly 1,000,000 kilometers. Fortunately, the young man beside them said, "Don't be intimidated by their size. They can transform into humanoid sizes." Han Fei said, "I know. I'm just thinking that with such a huge body, they could easily block off the void, and many people won't even be able to dodge a slap from them." The young man said, "Continue to watch." As Han Fei said, the woman wasn't the only enemy of the 3 gods. After all, the ominous creatures wouldn't talk about fairness. One of the doomsday-level ominous creatures slapped a group of strong cultivators with its palm. And it wasn't the god who blocked this blow. The divine plate behind her was spinning, and countless cyan chains of rules stretched out in the boundless void. This blow was very powerful, but it clearly needed some time. Therefore, Han Fei saw that there was a great monarch. Han Fei was sure he was a great monarch, because if that person was a god, he would be shining like the goddess. The great monarch used his myriad-foot-long Dharma idol to transform into a cone of laws. It expanded by nearly 10 times and emitted endless light. Although it was already very big, it was still less than a tenth of the palm. The power of light barely covered the palm. Bang! The light dispersed the ominous, and the great monarch unexpectedly blocked the ominous hand. The young man next to him said, "The myriad races have an advantage in one-on-one combat. For example, we have a way to suppress their power. It's possible for the experts of the myriad races to resist a god head-on, but it doesn't mean that they can withstand it for long. Such an attack can last at most 5 blows." Han Fei frowned slightly. It means that he is not strong enough. The young man smiled and said, "Do you think every great monarch level powerhouse can become a god? After all, there are very few people at the peak of the world. You can't measure a great monarch with a god's strength. In fact, as long as they become a great monarch, they are already very strong." Han Fei nodded slightly. At this moment, the law chains were binding the 3 doomsday-level powerhouses, but the law chains were constantly breaking at a very fast speed. However, the woman didn't care. Instead, she opened her hands, and her whole body was suffused with green light. In the next moment, within tens of millions of kilometers, a green storm, or to be exact, a storm of laws, a cleansing storm set off. This storm was extremely powerful and seemed to have supreme power. It almost cleared out all the ominous creatures within tens of millions of kilometers. And the 3 doomsday-level ominous creatures were also roaring crazily. One of them roared, "The water spirit purification storm can't kill us." When the green light disappeared, there were only the 3 doomsday-level ominous creatures left. And Han Fei clearly saw that the woman was exhausted. But she only slowed down for a moment, and the bell from before turned into a huge bell that burst out with a sound of purification. The woman, on the other hand, walked with a sword in her hand. The sword broke through her palm and she sacrificed her blood. Han Fei felt that a tremendous amount of vitality was burning. In the next moment, the boundless sea of stars turned into day, and the long sword tore through the air and killed 3 gods in a row. After the 3 slashes, the woman sat cross-legged in the void. She seemed to be quite weak. At this moment, the young man next to him said, "No matter how weak a doomsday-level creature is, it's equivalent to a god-level cultivator. Only a god can kill a god." At this moment, the picture in front of Han Fei gradually dissipated. In the next moment, Han Fei found that he was still in the passage of the city gate. There was only a young man opposite him looking at him with a smile. Han Fei asked, "Why is it gone?" The young man said, "You'll have to experience it anyway. It's meaningless to see too much of it." "What do you think of this god?" Han Fei pondered for a long time. "Very strong, but not strong enough." Han Fei's judgment was well-founded. He didn't know if the demon god was so strong, but there was someone who could be used as a reference. It was the ancient god of Thunder Note. Seeing this scene today, Han Fei was shocked. Then how terrifyingly strong would the ancient god of Thunder Note have been when he resisted the ominous alone for 3,000 years? At that time, there were definitely more doomsday-level ominous creatures that attacked the ancient god of Thunder Note at the same time. Perhaps 5 or 6 of them could go at the same time. Under such circumstances, Han Fei didn't know how that guy survived for 3,000 years. Perhaps this was also the reason why he set up the ancient god of Thunder Note trial, which was to make people endure the pressure of limits. The young man said with a smile, "Your evaluation is not high enough. You even think she is a little weak, don't you?" Han Fei didn't comment, although he was very surprised by the woman's strength. That was from his perspective. But from another perspective, it was naturally different. The young man smiled and said, "Come in. It's not easy to get here from the Godfiend Sea. Let's talk inside." Han Fei followed the young man into the city. As far as he could see, there was a huge cultivation field. Many young-looking strong masters were either sitting cross-legged or standing. They were all looking at him. From the perfected star transformation realm to the monarch realm, he had seen tens of thousands of them. Han Fei didn't sweep his perception directly. After all, this was their territory. It was very rude to sweep his perception directly. This city was designed to facilitate the gathering of troops and maintaining combat at any time. Behind the cultivation field was a palace building made of minerals. At this moment, 3 or 5 people were looking down from high above. They are all very strong and are all great monarchs. Han Fei was slightly shocked. He had interacted with great monarch-level powerhouses more than once. Judging from their temperament and faint suppressing pressure, they were definitely great monarch-level powerhouse. There were so many strong masters in the hidden monarch city, but they had been living in seclusion. Obviously, they were prepared for the next ominous battle. Han Fei frowned slightly. There are no battles. It doesn't seem right to cultivate like this. Suddenly, when Han Fei saw someone surrounded by the pure power of the great Tao, he suddenly realized something. Were these people cultivating with energy crystals? But energy crystals could only be obtained from ominous creatures. To be able to support the cultivation at this level, it was definitely not the ordinary ominous creatures in the chaotic wasteland. Then the real cultivation ground of these people was not here at all, but in the Sea of Stars. Han Fei asked, "Can the hidden monarch city lead to the Sea of Stars?" The young man asked, "Why don't you take a look for yourself?" "How do I take a look?" At this moment, suddenly, a huge wall appeared in front of Han Fei, and a strange vortex appeared on it. The distanceless gate? Han Fei wondered, can the distanceless gate run around itself? However, a line of words appeared on the wall. "Do you know me?" Han Fei laughed. "You don't know me? Distanceless door, you might know another distanceless door." Han Fei was stunned. "Are there many distanceless gates?" The young man said, "Of course there is more than one. At present, there are 9 known distanceless gates in the sea realm. The human race came from the chaotic wasteland. That gate can be called the number 3 distanceless gate." Han Fei was lost for words. There were suddenly supreme nature treasures, which was unbelievable. Han Fei was also a little curious, so without any hesitation, he stepped into the gate. Obviously, the hidden monarch city in the sea realm was just a temporary base. Why did they choose the infinite mining area? Perhaps it was because this place was rich in resources. Buzz. Han Fei felt a gentle force push him from behind, and then the surrounding scenery turned incorporeal. When the incorporeal state ended, he had already appeared above a sea of stars. And here, there was also a city, which was exactly the same as the illusion he saw just now, except that no super war broke out here. Han Fei also found that he was standing on the top of the palace. Suddenly realizing something, Han Fei quickly looked back and saw a woman in a white dress looking at him quietly. The woman was looking at him with a smile. "I heard that you think I'm a little weak? Ah, isn't that just a prehistoric image?" Han Fei really didn't expect to meet a creature like this. When did so many gods suddenly appear in this world? But immediately, Han Fei realized that there might have been hidden gods in this world, but he was too weak to know the traces of the gods. Now, when his strength grew to a certain level and he came into contact with stronger people, he got this kind of luck. Han Fei cupped his hands. "Nice to meet you, Senior," the white-clothed woman said, a disciple of the Void Temple, the master of the Emperor Sparrow, the holder of the demon purification pot, and the emperor of the human race. "You have many titles. Go to the front-line battlefield and let me see your strength." "Huh? Buzz." The woman in white waved her hand, and Han Fei felt that space had changed. He had already left the range of the city and appeared on a battlefield. There were nearly 10,000 people guarding this battlefield, but only less than 1,000 were really fighting the ominous creatures. Even so, in the starry sky, their battles were still extremely dazzling, with powerful spells filling the air and shining brilliantly. The white-clothed woman said, "Since 100,000 years ago, ominous creatures reappeared in the Sea of Stars. At first, only sporadic ominous creatures appeared. In nearly 30,000 years, small wars broke out every once in a while. During that period, a huge war broke out. You should have seen that battle. And the evaluation was not high. Go, let me see your strength." Han Fei. 100,000 years ago, the ominous reappearance in the Sea of Stars. Didn't this mean that the ominous sealing method had a problem 100,000 years ago? Why did the white-clothed woman tell him this? He didn't have a way to deal with the ominous now. However, in front of a god, he had to show his strength. What else could he do? At this moment, tens of thousands of pairs of eyes were looking at Han Fei and the woman in white. When they looked at the woman in white, their eyes were filled with admiration, and when they looked at Han Fei, their eyes were filled with judgment and curiosity. Han Fei nodded. "Okay." Boom. 1,000 lightning marks appeared in the Sea of Stars. A monarch who was fighting an ominous battle felt the lightning flash past him. In the next moment, the terrifying ominous creature opposite him exploded. Huh. This person is so fast. He's very powerful. He killed a terrifying level creature with one move. Is he a new heavenly talent monarch from the hidden monarch city? It's a thunder technique, and a very powerful one. There don't seem to be many people in the carefree level who can do this. Those who can make Lord God bring them here must be extraordinary. At this time, the woman in white said, "Everybody, stop fighting and come back." Huh? There are nearly 2,000 terrifying level ominous creatures here. There's also a destruction level 1. Are you kidding me? Do we have to let that person fight alone? The crowd moved, but everyone immediately carried out the order to leave the battlefield. However, those ominous creatures wouldn't let you leave so easily. They would pester you. However, lightning flashed all over the sky. Wherever the lightning flashed, a terrifying level ominous creature died, giving others enough space to retreat. Besides, the destruction level creature seemed to have issued an order to kill the lightning-type powerhouse in front of him. In a short while, Han Fei was the only one left on the battlefield. But 4 Most people, they couldn't see Han Fei at all, because Han Fei was hiding in the lightning marks that filled the sky. Is this guy really at the carefree level? Can a carefree level cultivator have such speed? It must be because of the lightning technique. Look, the terrifying level ominous creatures are chasing the lightning marks. When Han Fei had just killed 40 or 50 terrifying level creatures, the destruction level ominous creature finally realized the pattern of the Thousand Thunder Flash. Therefore, when Han Fei used the Thousand Thunder Flash again, an ominous life form suddenly detonated, trying to hold Han Fei back. However, a bolt of jumping lightning flashed, and the terrifying level creature still failed to touch Han Fei. However, Han Fei couldn't use the jumping lightning every time. So in the next moment, he deliberately stayed for a moment. In an instant, thousands of terrifying level creatures rushed over, and the destruction level creature appeared immediately. Buzz! Under Han Fei's feet, a lightning ring appeared and swept in all directions in an instant. The lightning marks in the void hadn't died out yet, but they ignited with a whoosh and turned into a sea of lightning and fire. In this sea of lightning, the speed of these ominous creatures suddenly halved. What kind of technique is this? The legendary 12 Thunder Seal technique. Ancient god of Thunder Note's heritage. Hiss. Didn't they say that the Thunder Note ancient temple trial was a sure death situation? Has someone broken it? No wonder this guy has such terrifying combat power even though he's only at the carefree level. He can resist more than 2,000 ominous creatures alone. He's really terrifyingly strong. Han Fei, who was fighting, didn't dare to be too slow. Because he set up this sea of thunder and lightning, he didn't have time to use the Thousand Thunder Flash. And the destruction level creature had already arrived, so he naturally responded with the 10,000 Law Sky Traveling technique. The Thunder God's hammer collided with the destruction level ominous life form. The destruction level ominous creature was sent flying. Because of the powerful lightning technique of the Thunder God's hammer, Han Fei's combat power doubled. Even the destruction level creature couldn't resist it. At the moment when the destruction level creature was sent flying, Han Fei put his hands together and muttered something, and a milky white halo bloomed on his body. The world-cleansing divine spell could purge all evil and remove ominousness. The hundreds of terrifying level ominous creatures near Han Fei were directly purified under the dual effects of the lightning technique and the world-cleansing divine spell. The others exclaimed, except for the woman in white, who looked calm. With so many titles on him, Han Fei couldn't be weak. She wanted to see how strong Han Fei was. In just an hour, Han Fei had killed more than 800 ominous creatures. In fact, under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for Han Fei to kill so many ominous creatures in such a short period of time. But wasn't this under the watch of a god? His kiting method obviously couldn't work, so he could only fight head-on. Fortunately, he had many techniques and methods. And there were only 2,000 ominous creatures, unlike the terrifying number of tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands outside the Thunder Note ancient temple. More than 2 hours later, only Han Fei and the destruction level ominous creature were left on the battlefield. This time, Han Fei didn't ask for the help of the Emperor Sparrow. He couldn't kill it so quickly in a one-on-one battle, but Han Fei wasn't as weak as he was when he first entered the Thunder Note ancient temple. Finally, under the multiple effects of the invincible fighting intent and the thunder technique, it took Han Fei nearly 2 hours to Obliterate this destruction-level ominous creature with difficulty. At this moment, the strong masters in the front line of the hidden monarch city looked at Han Fei in a different way. A carefree level cultivator had killed more than 2,000 ominous creatures of the same realm and even killed a destruction-level creature above his level. This was simply outrageous. This was something that normally required nearly 1,000 monarchs to accomplish. He had done it alone? After the battle, Han Fei cupped his hands at the woman in white. The white-clothed woman waved her hand, and Han Fei was dragged into another sea of stars. When he appeared again, he found that this place was filled with an ominous aura. Outside this ominous aura, there were nearly 30,000 ominous life forms, including at least a dozen destructive level ones. Well, Han Fei was shocked. Although he could kill so many destruction level creatures on such a scale, with his current strength, it would probably take him at least a month. 30,000 and 2,000 were two different numbers. The woman in white said, "Use the demon purification pot." Demon purification pot? Han Fei was briefly stunned. He had never thought of using the demon purification pot when he was dealing with the ominous creatures, mainly because he didn't know how to control it yet. The demon purification pot could kill 6 immortals at the same time because of its ability to absorb spirits. It could absorb anything that could be absorbed, but Han Fei had never tried absorbing ominous creatures with the demon purification pot because he didn't think there was anything else to absorb from the ominous creatures except negative energy. Besides, the demon purification pot could only deal with 7 at a time. In front of these tens of thousands of ominous creatures, 7 was nothing. However, since this god wanted him to try, Han Fei could only bite the bullet. Han Fei charged at the army of ominous creatures alone. He thought that even if he couldn't defeat them or couldn't control the demon purification pot, well, he could always escape with the great Tao of life replacement. When the ominous army saw that a lackey was charging at them, they immediately rushed over. Han Fei's face turned green when he saw the swarm of ominous creatures. Master Calabash, absorb. 7 small vines extended out from between Han Fei's eyebrows in a row. Han Fei had thought that the 7 small vines could only penetrate 7 ominous life forms at a time, and it would have to use his strength to destroy the 7 captured ominous life forms. But something unexpected happened. The lazy little vines suddenly became a little manic when they encountered these ominous life forms. Swish! 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 Puff, puff, puff. Vines were wriggling around Han Fei. A small vine could penetrate dozens of ominous creatures in a row in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, the small vine was still growing and seemed to be able to kill more. Any ominous life form penetrated by the demon purification pot would be immediately covered in greenness. Almost in an instant, Han Fei felt that he was mentally connected to the demon purification pot. Within 10,000 meters of Han Fei, it seemed to have become a forbidden area. Any ominous life form that tried to rush in would be pierced by the small vines immediately. The speed was so fast that even Han Fei himself couldn't react in time, but the demon purification pot could. Hiss! Han Fei was shocked. He had used the demon purification pot before, but it was impossible for it to drain an ominous creature comparable to an immortal level creature in such a short time. Han Fei remembered that it took the demon purification pot a long time to extract the spiritual energy of a tentacle lobster when he was a kid. Although there were more vines in the demon purification pot now, it couldn't be so unbelievable. Is this the reason why the demon purification pot can suppress the ominous? Hanfei was stunned. If it had such terrifying destructive power, how could the previous owners of the demon purification pot lose? While Hanfei was sighing, he suddenly felt that the seventh divine pill on the demon purification vine was actually being nurtured. Yes, the seventh and final divine pill began to nurture after killing hundreds of ominous creatures. And its speed was very fast. When more than 1,000 ominous creatures were killed, the seventh divine pill had grown from the size of gravel to the size of a sesame seed. Hanfei was overjoyed. This was really a pleasant surprise. Hanfei had thought that the seventh divine pill required a large amount of resources to slowly feed. In fact, this method was actually useful because the demon purification pot was still absorbing energy every day. However, this absorption method was clearly not as efficient as now. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Finally, after nearly 10,000 ominous creatures were destroyed, the demon purification pot's absorption speed seemed to be declining. After killing 20,000 ominous creatures, the demon purification pot wouldn't completely kill the ominous creatures. The latter would turn into an ominous aura, regather elsewhere, and then charge at Hanfei again. After killing more than 24,000 ominous life forms, the demon purification pot stopped absorbing them. The small vines would only penetrate the ominous creatures and wouldn't extract their energy. It seemed to be passively defending. All right. At that moment, the white-clothed woman grabbed Hanfei with one hand and took him away, along with a large number of energy crystals. Hanfei hurriedly put away the demon purification pot, his heart full of doubts and puzzlement. In the blink of an eye, Hanfei returned to the real hidden monarch city. Again. The woman in white took the lead to say, sure enough, the demon purification pot in its incomplete state is still very weak. A demon purification pot of this level won't be of much use in a big battle. Hanfei thought to himself, at least more than 24,000 ominous creatures were killed. How can this be called useless? Besides, the seventh divine pill, the size of a sesame seed, had grown to the size of a soybean. At this speed, as long as there were enough ominous creatures, the seventh divine pill would mature soon. However, when he wanted to enter the hidden monarch city, he saw the scene of this woman attacking. It seemed that there was nothing wrong with her words. Hanfei asked, why did the demon purification pot stop absorbing in the later stage of the fight? The woman in white asked, what do you think the demon purification pot absorbed? Hanfei shook his head. These ominous creatures had no spiritual energy, no chaotic chi, and no immortal chi. He didn't even know how they were driven. Who knew what the demon purification pot was absorbing? The woman in white said, it's ominous. So far, we don't know whether the ultimate state of the ominous is a powerful creature or will that gives negative creatures vitality. Hanfei frowned slightly. Even the gods can't be sure? The woman in white said, gods are not omnipotent. The god realm is just a realm. Gods can die too. The biggest characteristic of the ominous is their uncertainty. It's difficult for us to see their nature. No matter how many ominous creatures we kill, it's just to slow their growth. The demon purification pot has the ability to devour the ominous nature. Therefore, in addition to fighting against the ominous, every holder of the demon purification pot is determined to pry into the ominous nature. Obviously, you Have never used the demon purification pot to deal with ominous creatures before. Han Fei thought to himself, who knows? The demon purification pot didn't come out to fight. He had always thought that the demon purification pot was an auxiliary treasure. The woman in white said, in the same realm, you are very strong and impressive, but the stronger you are, the harder it will be for you to find your divine path. Your combat techniques are too various, and you have too many. Great Daos. Your law fusion process will take a long time. I asked you to come here for no other reason than to tell you that there's not much time left. Not much time left? Han Fei's face changed slightly. Do you mean the time of the next outbreak of the ominous? The woman in white nodded slightly. Go. The hidden monarch city won't interfere in the affairs of the infinite mining areas, and your human race probably doesn't need to help for the time being. Also, let me remind you that you can't be the human emperor forever. It's time for you to find your true path. Han Fei's expression changed slightly. She said exactly what old Yuan told him before. Han Fei nodded slightly. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Well, I don't know how to address you. You can call me the Goddess of Light. Swish. The distanceless door appeared with the words, Let's go written on it. Han Fei cupped his hands. Goodbye, Senior. Swish. When Han Fei opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in the hidden Monarch City. The man in white and barefoot was waiting here. Seeing Han Fei return, he smiled casually. What do you think? Han Fei was puzzled. What do you mean? The man asked, Is the Goddess of Light beautiful? Han Fei looked at this person speechlessly, thinking to himself, It's not enough to set me up once, but you want to set me up again? The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Of course she's very beautiful. Ha ha ha. The man laughed and asked Han Fei, Do you want to join the hidden monarch city? Han Fei shook his head. No, I have a lot of things to do. The man said regretfully, What a pity. When you grow up, I'd like to see the true power of the demon purification pot. Han Fei asked, Senior, what should I call you? Baizhe. Ancient divine beast? Baizhe was slightly surprised. Huh? How do you know that? No, I've just heard of you from others. Han Fei couldn't help but feel a little strange. It seemed that many creatures in myth actually existed. Han Fei asked, Senior Baizhe, what else does the hidden monarch city have to say about what our human race does in the infinite mining area? Baizhe smiled and said, What can the hidden monarch city do? This infinite mining area doesn't belong to the hidden monarch city. Since your human race has occupied this place, you can take your time to manage it. Similarly, the hidden monarch city won't interfere in the disputes between humans and others. Of course, if you are willing to join the hidden monarch city, it will be a different matter. Han Fei was silent for a while. The hidden monarch city was a force to fight against the ominous. It was not that he couldn't join it, but he knew too little about the hidden monarch city now. He didn't want to be tied down by this. Anyway, with the demon god's promise and the protection of the divine beasts and ferocious beasts, the human race would be safe for at least 1,000 years. Therefore, even if he wanted to join the hidden monarch city, it would be 1,000 years later. Han Fei responded with a smile, I'll consider it. When Han Fei returned to the human race after leaving the hidden monarch city, Han Xian was already carrying out the human race's plan to build a city. Zhou. Run was already arranging for the human race to settle in. The name of the 100 Alliance city had been removed. There was no 100 Force Alliance anymore, so there was no need for this name now. Although Han Fei wanted to be a hands-off boss, some basic principles still need to be implemented and carried out. For example, after discussing with Han Xian and the others, Han Fei decided to change the name of the 100 Alliance city to Free City in case the itinerant cultivators in the Sea Realm didn't understand. And the word freedom was what many people yearned for. Han Fei specially explained to his fellow human beings that because of an accident, the demon plants they planted in the past were destroyed, so all about demon plants shops were reopened. Most humans had no objections to this. They could replant demon plants if they were destroyed. It wasn't a problem anyway. Outside the infinite mining area, the 8 camps soon learned about the changes in the infinite mining area. In fact, they had been waiting for the news. After all, the commotion a while ago was so huge that many people had run away in fear. Most of those who still stayed in the camps wanted to try their luck. After all, the battle of the strong shouldn't affect ordinary itinerant cultivators like them. After learning that the human race had conquered the infinite mining areas, established the free city, and implemented resource-sharing measures, the people in the 8 camp were dumbfounded. Every time they met someone, they would talk about the human race and the free city. The intelligence organizations in the Divine Capital Dynasty and the capital of horror gradually spread the news of the human race, causing an uproar. What? The human butcher who swept across all the major forces in the central Sea Divine Realm? Oh no. Is he really the emperor of the human race? What a terrifying human being. He killed dozens of great monarchs from the Central Sea Divine Realm. It's like listening to a heavenly book. That's right. They were all great monarchs. I only know that there is great Monarch East Marshal in the East Sea Divine Realm. How could so many great monarchs suddenly appear and be killed by a human? Maybe great monarchs are different. It's said that the human race has actually suffered a heavy loss. After fighting for 400 years, nearly 70 billion people have died. What does this mean? The combined population of the 8 camps and the former infinite mining area might not even be a fraction of the number of the humans who died. I heard that they are generally not strong, so many have died. Heh. We killed 40 great monarchs, and you said the human race isn't strong? That was done by the powerhouses in the Godfiend Sea. Didn't you read the intelligence? The Godfiend Sea is gone, and the powerhouses inside have all been released. That's true. It's said that a god has appeared. That's bulls asterisk it. That's not in the information at all. The divine path has been severed. How can there be a god? Hey! Don't doubt me. My biological brother's wife's senior brother's master's Grand Elder told me that. Everyone. The free city had only been built for a year, when countless people from the superpowers such as the Divine Capital Dynasty, the capital of horror, the East Sword Pavilion, and the Ghost Strait went to the infinite mining areas. These people from the 8 camps dared to really enter the infinite mining areas. By the time they entered the infinite mining area, the 100 Alliance city had changed beyond recognition. In its place was a cluster of cities, surrounded by nearly 100 cities. The people of the East Sea Divine Realm were discussing the infinite mining areas, but the young talents of the entire Sea Realm were flocking to the South Sea Divine Realm at this moment. This was because two major events were about to happen in the South Sea Divine Realm. Firstly, the God-fearing ancient land was about to open. It was said that this was a primordial land that was full of strange treasures and would only open once every hundreds of thousands of years. For some reason, it was about to open this time. Secondly, the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest was looking for a husband through a competition. She wanted to dual cultivate on a certain path to godhood that countless people yearned for. Therefore, the South Sea Divine Realm had been very lively recently. The major forces all had young talents from the Sea Realm. For example, at this moment, in a city group called Heavenly Phoenix Island, near the Phoenix Divine Race, a young man was wearing a phoenix-colored cloak, holding a folding fan, and holding a pipe in his mouth. Behind him were two maids at the late stage of the star transformation realm, one holding a sword, and the other holding a fruit plate. And this young man was confronting a group of 5 or 6 talents from the Central Sea Divine Realm on the street. The young man roared, "Are you blind? You ants, do you know whose territory this is? Do you know who I am? Do you know what kind of person my brother is? He can crush you 800 times with a finger." A young man on the opposite side sneered, "Look at how you're boasting. With your spoiled behavior as a rich second generation, your brother is probably a useless person too." Immediately, the young man in the phoenix-colored cloak shouted, "Be asteriskal shit. You're asking for a beating. My brother is known as the bloody-handed butcher. He's invincible on the god roll, and even great monarchs avoid him. He's the current emperor of the human race, Han Fei. Who do you think you are to mock him? Come, ant, come and die." Boom. Feng Xingliu was clamoring, but was kicked hard by someone in the butt and staggered. The two maids next to him were about to burst into fury, only to find that they couldn't move at all. "Which ant dares to kick me?" Feng Xingliu looked back and didn't recognize the guy who attacked him. Just as he was about to attack, he heard a familiar voice. "Keep a low profile. I heard you yelling the moment I came. I have thousands of enemies now, but you are still making enemies for me." Feng Xingliu was shocked. "Shoot. You. Han Fei snorted coldly. "Humph. You promised to meet me and give me a warm welcome. I've been waiting for a long time, but no one came." Oh. I forgot it. You ants, I'll let you go today. Next time, keep your eyes open." Feng Xingliu smiled happily and was about to leave. However, the geniuses from the Central Sea Divine Realm behind him all had black faces, and the man in the lead shouted coldly, "Did I say you could leave?" Those people from the Central Sea Divine Realm were obviously not weak. Most of the young talents who could come to the South Sea Divine Realm at this time were for the God-fearing ancient land and the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest. The 6 people in front of him were all in the perfected star transformation realm. At this moment, the 6 people obviously had no intention of letting Feng Xingliu leave. Feng Xingliu blushed, glanced at Han Fei who had changed his appearance, and said, "Wait, let me settle these guys." There were quite a few onlookers. There had been a lot of conflicts recently, and it was rarely lively. Furthermore, this was the young master of the Phoenix Divine Race. The fight would definitely be very exciting when they fought. Han Fei shrugged. "Then hurry up. I have something to do. Feng Xingliu was bursting with confidence at this moment. His confidence soared when he found Han Fei came. Although they didn't know how Han Fei found him, none of this mattered. Feng Xingliu pointed at the people opposite him and said, "Don't say that I'm bullying you. Come with me. If you can win, I'll give you the 7-color mystic crystal." Han Fei finally understood what was going on. It turned out that they were fighting for something. Han Fei retracted the suppressing pressure on the two women. The two women looked at each other in shock, thinking that this person was so strong. He could suppress them and make them unable to move without being noticed by others. More importantly, who was this person? With Feng Xingliu's personality, he wasn't angry at all after being kicked, as if he didn't care at all. All these years, they had never seen Feng Xingliu treat anyone with such an attitude. At this moment, Feng Xingliu was already walking side by side with Han Fei towards the wilderness outside the heavenly Phoenix Island. They hurriedly followed. The people on the opposite side snorted and followed them too. Feng Xingliu seemed to be a little excited and said to Han Fei, "How did you find me? Let me tell you, you should have brought the human race to our south Sea Divine Realm, which has much more resources than the East Sea." Han Fei said, "Idiot, stop bragging. If I really bring human beings here, can your Phoenix Divine race protect them? Hey huh. Are you also here for the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest? Let me tell you secretly, that woman is very powerful. She can draw a tie with Feng you. But she's definitely not your match. You can easily take her down. Then you can get the support of the Miracle Forest, and the human race will be even safer." Feng Xingliu was lost for words. "We can go to that damn place at any time. Hey, do you know about the opening of the God-ferrying ancient land?" Han Fei said, "I heard it on the way." Feng Xingliu chuckled. "That's a good place. It's said that there are many treasures there. The Fire Tao resurrection wheel of our Phoenix Divine race was dug out from there. Although many treasures have been dug up, there are still some mysterious treasures that haven't appeared. Let's go plunder that place. We'll definitely be able to get hundreds of pieces of treasures. They're very valuable." Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Why do you need money now? You're about to prove Tao. What's the use of money for you? Look at Feng Yu. I heard that she's at the carefree level now?" As soon as Feng Yu's name was mentioned, Feng Xingliu's expression collapsed. "Ha, even the patriarch gives her preferential treatment now, she certainly advances quickly. Look at me, I have also advanced, not too slowly. If the patriarch's attention wasn't all on her, I might have also proven Tao by now." Han Fei said, "Tao proving has nothing to do with others. By the way, where is little Qingqing? She..." Before Feng Xingliu finished speaking, the heavenly talents from the central Sea Divine Realm shouted behind him, "How far do you want to go? If you don't dare to fight, just say it. Hand over the 7-colored mystic crystal so that you won't suffer physical pain. After all, it will be embarrassing if the young master of the Phoenix Divine race is beaten up. Be asteriskal shit." Feng Xingliu's face immediately became tense. "Come on. How dare you ants compete with the sun and moon? Shut up." Han Fei was happy to watch the fun on the side. After years of not seeing each other, the bad habits of Feng Xingliu seemed to be getting more and more serious. However, others couldn't sense it, but he could clearly sense that Feng Xingliu was abnormally vigorous and his power showed signs of being self-sealed. It seemed that he was indeed idle, but in fact, this guy was deliberately provoking those people. His purpose should be simple. He was looking for strong masters of the same level to train himself, trying to nurture his spiritual energy to a peak state and break through the monarch tribulation. When he first met Feng Xingliu, this guy was only in the late star transformation stage. In just 600 years, he had upgraded from the late star transformation stage to the perfected star transformation realm. Ordinary people definitely wouldn't have such a speed of growth, so although he looked arrogant and domineering, in fact, he must have cultivated a lot. He must have been trained crazily by his family all these years. Han Fei pointed his finger and the seawater turned into a big chair. He sat on it and took out a handful of melon seeds. You fight. I'll be your referee. Hey, the guys from the Central Sea Divine Realm, if you win, you'll get 7 colored mystic crystals. But what if you lose? Feng Xingliu's eyes lit up too. Yes. What if you lose? The man in the lead snorted. If we lose, I have a mid-quality godly weapon. Before he finished speaking, Feng Xingliu pointed at him and scolded, You ants, you're too much. How dare you take out a mid-quality godly weapon? I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Even my bowl is a mid-quality godly weapon. Who are you grossing out with this thing?